Yes, guys, we are live again. Another episode of Footy from the Flat, back for the pre-finals bye. All the action has gone under the table, guys. Everything. The Dockers, the Western Bulldogs, the Hawks, the Giants. We finally found it out who made it into the finals, and it was the Western Bulldogs, unfortunately for them, who missed.
A very unfortunate result.
Super fortunate.
We have a very happy man in the house.
Yes, I'm back. Thanks for welcoming me back. There is so much action under the table. It's ridiculous.
I thought that was just me.
I meant to say water under the bridge, and then I said action under the table. It got so weird.
Yeah, it's a weird vibe now.
No, it was a fun arvo at Marvel. Just felt like it was a game where Freo would drop in the past, so we wouldn't live up to the expectations, and we did. So I was pleasantly surprised. I'm happy that we're here talking finals and the Dockers.
Are you genuinely surprised? Because I remember last week, not to have a go at you, but you were a little bit negative about the Docks.
Tactical?
Yes, it was a bit of like reverse psychology involved, definitely.
We saw that coming.
We'd also got pumped there by the Dogs last year, and we got pumped by the Saints earlier this year. We're not a typically good Marvel side, so that was my thoughts going into it. But we showed up in a big way.
It's a growth moment, I think, for Freo.
Yeah.
Definitely when I guess most people had written them off, and to be able to come through that is another kind of chapter, I suppose, that you probably haven't been able to get across in the past.
Yeah, a bit of confidence in the coach as well, because he was sort of talking through the week, like he was saying with Chess, like last time I checked, they had less wins than us. Like, we're super excited to get over there. And I thought it was a bit of he was sort of trying to psych himself into it almost, or like, give himself a false sense of confidence or whatever. But
there was definitely there was a lot of messaging going on, wasn't there?
Yeah,
from him during the week. Like, he was definitely very like direct and tactical about it.
Freo coaches at the training as well, a bit of drama there. But we won't fully delve into Freo to start the show, because I know you guys aren't.
No.
If we go back a month though, like to this leading up to this final series, there was obviously like 9 teams. We did a ton of like power rankings, finals predictions and stuff like that. Are you guys surprised that it was the Dogs that dropped out? I think they were always a chance to drop out, and they were kind of the team that had that game behind, but nobody thought they would because of the easiness of their draw, or relative easiness of their draw.
I would have had the Dogs in my predicted final 8, I reckon, most of the way, but I still wouldn't go as far as to say surprised. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just felt like there was a possibility of anything happening. And it's not the first time the Dogs have faltered in that last fortnight of the season to miss finals. So it wasn't a big shock, but it is, there's some weird stats from this year where the Dogs, I think, have the highest percentage to ever miss finals, 139.7. And I reckon that would be more than a lot of premiership teams have had.
Along with 14 wins?
Yeah, 14 wins, allowing for the extra game we now play. That's probably the equivalent of, 13 maybe, or even still 13 prior to that would have gotten you finals almost every year. So
I feel like there was a time where 12 was the magic number.
Yeah, I think that might have been with a 16-team league though.
You might be
I
right.
think it changed at 18 teams, and we started saying 13 you're safe and 12 still possible. 11 used to be possible with the 16 teams, but it was 12 is safe. And now it's like 15 is safe, but you can win a flag with 14.5, like Brisbane. Was it 14.5 last year?
Yeah.
Something like that.
You'd be fuming as a Dogs fan, wouldn't you? With all the talent on this list, but no back end, Jesse. No defense.
Why'd you look at me when you said that?
I don't know.
I think it was because he said the word back end.
Yeah.
He was waiting for that next comment. We will get into that. So off the top here, I'll just bring up the topics for tonight. We're going to go through finals and power rankings, kind of previewing those games and looking at the most likely team to win the premiership. We're going to grade the bottom 10 teams. So the Western Bulldogs will feature in that as well. A bit of trade and free agency talk, and then we'll finish it off with some draft, maybe some questions and answers after that as well. So we'll start by kicking in with the games preview. The first qualifying final Thursday at 7:40 p.m. at the Adelaide Oval. It's Adelaide taking on the Pies. A bit of experience versus exuberance, I've sort of been thinking for this one. You've got an up-and-coming team against a bit of a past juggernaut, won the 2023 flag, obviously. And Collingwood have dominated the Crows in recent times up until their most recent meeting in round 23, where it was, 3 points the margin. Adelaide came back from 25 points down in that game, and that's the most recent meeting that we have, particularly at Adelaide Oval, but the conditions were wet. It wasn't probably a typical game that we might see on Friday. What do you boys think?
Yeah, it's interesting you use the word domination there. They did win 11, but a lot of those were close games while Collingwood was good and while Adelaide were rebuilding. So I actually kind of think that's a bit of a red flag for Collingwood now that Adelaide are top top of the league.
Not particularly relevant.
Yeah, mind you, they have played twice this year, and they've both been very close games. The first one being at the G, where Collingwood won. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Adelaide front up in that game, considering there is a mental edge of having just beaten Collingwood. It was such a close game, though. It really could have gone either way.
Do you think the stats play into it at all? The fact that I think the inside 50s that night, didn't Collingwood hit 70?
Yes, 71, I think.
71 inside 50s. Like, it was absolutely obscene. And I mean, that obviously that has no outcome at all on the game. But is there any, I don't know, is that going to get inside Adelaide's head at all? That we kind of, I guess in general play, got a little bit dominated around the ball?
71-37 inside 50s. And Collingwood kicked 5 of their 8 goals of the game in the first quarter as well. They got off to that hot start. I think in the midfield it's pretty evenly matched.
They've got different types, don't they?
Yeah, obviously, when you got Dacos running around there. But I think their sort of depth sort of starts to peter out around that like 4th or 5th guy, whereas Adelaide have quite a few players that can run through there. I don't know how much Neil Bullen's played on ball this year, but even he can do a job in there as a bit of a pressure tagger as well. So, yeah, Dawson got a lot of awards the other night on the awards night. I don't know what the awards night's called.
Yeah, I wonder why they call it that.
But I think the Crows a little bit more well-rounded heading into the final series, and obviously got the minor premiership as well.
Whether it gets into their thinking, like they would have reviewed the crap out of that game, both sides obviously, that's part of the weekly process, and I'd imagine that would be a big talking point, the amount of inside 50s conceded but also repelled. I think it's a bit of an issue for Collingwood. I think they had a monstrous amount of inside 50s against Fremantle. I think it was like 55-24 or something at three-quarter time, but the quality of those inside 50s, particularly in the Fremantle game, were not great. They were well defended, but Collingwood play this like turnover game, and they could try and play front half footy and play territory, which is good for finals. So I think that's conducive to a finals game. But at the same time, they have their own issues with efficiency in some of these games.
I was going to say it's conducive for giving yourself a chance to win the game. Absolutely. The issue for Collingwood, I feel, is they don't have those big contested marking players up the line. Like their forward line, if you look at the numbers, they're one of the weaker contested marking sides in the comp. Most of their inside 50 marking is done on the lead. So they kind of like to bring the ball, like change angles essentially, and then come in, get everybody sort of like running on the opposite side of the field and get marks that way. So I feel like the better teams in the competition can sort of choke you up a little bit, and that's what kind of I feel Adelaide did to them. Just give them those lower grade entries. And without players like Bobby Hill and probably up until now, Jordan De Goey, although he's starting to come into form, he hasn't been able to... They're sort of those clutch players, you know what I mean, that give them goals from nothing.
Is Bo McCreary out as well?
He's back.
Back in,
he's coming back in.
And Bobby Hill trained this week, apparently.
Yeah, okay.
So how likely he is of actually getting named is another question. But like, I think if they were to get... De Goey over the past probably 2 matches, I felt like there's a greater explosiveness to his game. The speed is there. And I think the most recent game he actually... Was that the one against Adelaide? Was that the most recent? Melbourne, yeah. That was the game where he actually had good numbers and kind of stayed in the game across all 4 quarters. So I think he's a big wild card for me in this one. I think, Dan Houston even, he hasn't really done much this season. So he's another one I think that can kind of... I don't know, if you got 20% more out of Dan Houston that you haven't really got across the season, that's probably another area that they could get at Adelaide.
I thought he had a pretty good game in that Crows game as well, back at the Adelaide Oval. There's going to be a lot of fire in this game as well, given what happened with the Isaac Rankin situation. Apparently he was saying he's going to put Rankin on a stretcher. Like
Houston?
Yeah, he was saying that, like he would put him on a stretcher again.
Oh, that was because that was in relation to when he...
knocked him out the previous...
Okay.
Don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But Bobby Hill and Bo McCreary were such an important part of the success of Collingwood when they won that premiership. So I don't know if Bobby Hill's going to come back in. Probably more likely not, but...
It'd be 50-50, I'd say. Like they'd really want to get him back in. The other aspect of the head-to-head side of it is like the tall forwards, I think, for Adelaide, like the Thilthorpe, Fogarty...
And Big Tex.
Like, do you think that the Pies can contain them for another game? Because I feel like, if anything, the conditions probably suited Collingwood being able to keep those guys out in the previous game, given it was so wet.
Yeah,
so it probably adds another element for them to improve as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Although you'd think that with... wetter conditions, the inside 50s would be cleaner. So there was still the supply issue there for Adelaide regardless. And Thilthorpe kicked a late goal and won them the game. Not to shit all over your point at all. But yeah, just playing devil's advocate there.
Do you think Adelaide have many different gears to go and different ways to play? Because I remember when we were doing that live stream, you were talking about Adelaide being a team that likes to go long to those guys and then have the small sort of crumb, whereas a side like Brisbane, for example, has so many different ways that they can play. Do you think Adelaide can switch it up this final series?
It's a good point. It's a good point. And I think a lot of that gear switching and being able to like flick into modes comes down to experience a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's the question. Like we haven't really seen them. We've seen them go on this run, and amidst that run, you play weaker opposition and stuff like that, and you can get momentum. But it's different in a final series, right?
Yeah. Tactical battles and that.
Yeah. I feel like with a team newly in the top 4, like Adelaide, where they've had a big shoot from 15th to first, like you really want to get this win. So then you've won a final straight away, straight into a prelim, and
Home
you don't
prelim.
Yeah, exactly, and you don't want to have to worry about getting on the road and all that kind of stuff. So
it's a numpty point, sorry to make, but like finishing top 4 is actually so crucial. Like having a home final in the first week of finals as a Dockers fan, it's like it's great. We got to play Geelong or Brisbane the next week. You know what I mean? And it's like the difference between like one win against Sydney would have had us in the top 4. And it's like, that makes so much big of a difference. I know Brisbane did it from outside of it last year, but
I also feel this year, I think I said it on one of the other streams, but because of the quality of complete opposition in the top 8, or teams in the top 8, because it's very even, I feel like it's going to be even harder to make it from outside the top 4 because you're going to be playing really difficult opposition. So to be able to go on a run is going to be more
those small differences will make a big difference this final series.
Yeah.
Jesse?
I want to get to the chat shortly, but I was thinking actually in the shower, I don't know why I mentioned that, it's a little gross, but I was thinking this is probably more of a question for like Adelaide's broader finals prospects. Somebody said in the chat the occasion might get to them, which is a good point because they haven't played finals with this particular group. There'd be a handful of players who've played finals. But I was trying to go through all the premiership teams over the last 25 years that had never played in a final series, or at least, let's say, a large portion of their team has not played finals.
Talk to me.
I can't think of a single premiership team who has not played finals.
Did you actually do the exercise? Or
I went back in my head, yeah. So Brisbane obviously experienced Collingwood.
Yep.
Geelong, 22.
Yep.
Melbourne had played it in a bunch, 21. Richmond had a three-peat, but three premierships, but they'd played finals the years before that.
How many years did Richmond make finals before they won the flag?
I reckon they made it in 13, 14 and 15. Yeah, and they lost week 1 each time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they had it. They were probably the closest to that, right? As in, like, they weren't really an established good final side.
Yep.
The D's had only made finals once, right? That 2018.
Yeah, they made a prelim, so that's 3 finals.
Oh, gotcha.
Which is still 3 more finals than Adelaide here. West Coast had done plenty. 20, and then you have a Hawthorn three-peat, you have Sydney in 2012, and like you just have to go back to, I don't know, maybe the Brisbane Lions in 2001. I don't know where they finished in 2000, but I was trying to like defeat the argument that Adelaide can't win the flag because they haven't played finals, and I was like, wow, that's a huge body of data there to suggest that if you haven't played finals,
I've
you won't
seen enough.
Yeah.
I'm just picturing you like drawing on like the shower glass, like 2002. No.
I bet you are.
I'll just open the door and walk myself in.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time. Adelaide won't be, this is a comment from Shifty, Adelaide wouldn't be on a 6-day break. It's 9 versus 9 this time. Okay, Collingwood had 9. They'll be gaining Laird and Michaelani. On the flip side, they lose Rankin for Pedlar. Yes, the Rankin element here is not insignificant, albeit he wasn't a big player the last time they beat Collingwood. I want to say there was a goal.
Oh, he's so dangerous though.
Yeah. I reckon he got a goal when Quainer was defending him, and it was just a forward 50 stoppage, and he sort of got away. And it's just that threat.
I feel like there's also like with those kind of players, that level of player, the amount of time and work that the coaching panel puts into a player like that, which probably shifts attention away, and then Dawson can do better and stuff like that. So it's hard to actually quantify how much they bring.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Cardi has dropped a donation of $7.99. Thank you, Cardi. He says he sent us a finals prediction graphic on Insta. Thank you. We'll get back to you.
I did see that.
Thank you.
I will do that.
Good man.
And what part were you washing when you were having these thoughts in the shower, Jesse?
My eyebrows.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could just say like chest.
Yeah.
Anyway, keen to see how Ben Keys goes. He's one of my favourite players to watch, and he's going to have to step up with Rankin out of that side. So, you wouldn't have thought like a game that was played 2 weeks ago would have so much hype around it again, but it just does. There's so much more feeling in it again. It's going to be a fiery night at the Adelaide Oval, Thursday night footy.
I'm super excited. And there's so much with that inexperience element too. Like even the coaches going up against each other, like Matthew Nix, Fly, he's got that a little bit more now, so a little bit more experience. Like it's going to come into it as well. What are we doing here? What are we tipping? I found this one difficult.
Forgot about that part.
I feel like we should tip.
Yeah, no, that's right. I'm leaning towards Adelaide.
Yeah.
But I think but it's pretty 50-50 for me. I honestly think Collingwood can win and throw the finals predictions into chaos. Because if they win and get a home prelim at the MCG, then suddenly they're right back up there in the premiership stakes.
Who would the Crows play?
They would, if they went through to a home
Hawthorn
prelim.
Giants.
Yeah, they're in week 2. That's
if
who they would
lost,
play.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
At Adelaide Oval.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then face an away prelim. So that's what they want to avoid.
Something that we haven't really discussed is like how solid the Crows backline has been this year. Josh Worrell, biggest snub of the All-Australian team.
Easily.
I was saying to Jesse, and I'm the biggest Caleb Serong
Liam
fan
Duggan?
that there is. I didn't think Caleb Serong had an All-Australian year this year. Jordan Clark, yes. I didn't like how they had 4 mids on the bench, and I would have personally chose Josh Worrell in a spot for...
Yeah, I thought he was unlucky. I listened to the SEN with Kane Corns this morning, who sort of justified some of that stuff. Like they said they put Dacos on the bench because he could play as a halfback.
Okay, so you bring that like realism into it.
As in like we're actually going to play
Selectively.
a team.
Well, what
Very
defender's going to come
selectively.
on? You're going to play Matt Rowell at fullback? Like,
Yeah, it doesn't
I don't
matter.
know.
I felt like with Matt Rowell, and I think I mentioned that when we did our AA team last week, Jesse, like it had to be kind of Rowell or Sarong. Because they kind of play that same first possession type player.
Yeah.
So I would have been happy if they pick one of those. I'm probably a little bit more than Rowell. Rowell's had a better year this year than Sarong.
Sarong's just been tagged out of games too many times for me. Like, I love this man, but I didn't think he had an All-Australian year. Jordan Clark, I think, will win our BNF.
We had him in.
We had Clark and Worrell. We didn't have Raoul Sarong, I reckon.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
We didn't have either.
Yeah.
I'm making a tangent here, but the way that Collingwood moved the ball in that Melbourne game looked like pristine. The way that they were just kicking in, making the ground big. Feel like the Crows are going to set up a lot better behind the ball. I'm going to tip the Crows. I think the Crows will be a bit too...
I'm Crom.
Yeah, I'm going Crows, but less than a goal again.
I mean, 12... What is it? 12 out of their last 13 or 11 out of their last 12
It's
Crows
close.
at Adelaide Oval. So it's like, it's going to be a big deal if they go there and knock them off.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be, as you said, it would be a massive tick for Collingwood in the premiership. Like they'd almost come into one of the top 2 favourites, I reckon, if they did win.
Yeah, home prelim.
For a team known for its ability to win close games, they've lost 4 of their 7 games this year by a goal or less.
Yeah.
Who was
Fun
that
fact.
to? Freo was one of them. I just wanted to get that in.
West Coast, no.
All right, should we move on to the Friday night game? Brisbane face the Cats at the MCG.
Rematch of the 2024 prelim, this one.
One of the best prelims I've ever seen.
Yep.
It was outstanding.
That was a good game. That was a good
Cal
night.
Archie is the
bless
one
you.
player from that game that sticks in my head. Just mesmerising that night.
Was it Rayner that was getting late goals as well? in that
Yeah,
game?
I think so.
There was
Yeah.
some unbelievable goals in that game, just out of nothing from the pocket, mercurial stuff. Rayner,
Yeah.
Archie.
That soccer who crossed it in? Was it Brian Myers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kicked it across and someone come across and
That's
hit
right.
the tap in. I can't remember exact. My vision's blurred from that night. I remember it being a very good game. though.
Real messy areas.
Yes.
From Brian Myers, I remember. So in 2025, they played in round 3 and round 15, and Brisbane won both of those games. The first of which was at the Gabba by 9 points in round 3, and then in round 15, they won by 41 points.
They got a big lead, the Cats, in that first Gabba game, I remember.
Yeah, they did.
Because I had tipped Geelong and it was filthy when Brisbane came back and won. I was devastated.
I don't think I've watched this fixture personally.
Oh, yeah. It's going back to the start of the year, basically.
I think we might. Did we stream that one, that early round? No, we didn't. Sorry.
That
We
was
did.
Collingwood with Pommy.
We did Giants and Hawks that week. But I definitely watched the round 15 game, and the Lions really implemented that, like taking the uncontested marks away from Geelong, and they had plus 30 themselves in that game. Jeremy Cameron still kicked 4 goals, so it wasn't like they shut him out of it to win it, which was interesting. But what do you boys think overall? Where can they get at each other?
Well, when I think of the Cats, I just think of the run of Holmes and Bailey Smith. Their one would really. Speaking of the gears that Brisbane can go through, do you think Geelong have that same nous, or do you think they rely too heavily on the transition and the run?
They do. They probably do. And I think if you're lining these two teams up, as much as you mentioned Bailey Smith and Max Holmes, Brisbane, they don't have those like technical midfielders like Brisbane do.
Yeah.
The ones that kind of win the ball on the inside. So their clearance game clearly isn't as good as the Lions.
Yeah.
That could be
more crafty.
Much more crafty, exactly. And then
Yeah.
sort of get it out, get it inside 50, and then they can allow those like small forwards to get into the game. Where with Geelong, it is kind of, concede first possession and then we start, starting from half back, which can be a little bit more difficult to get going, I suppose, at times.
Yeah, I think pound for pound, the Lions are stronger. Because you think like another one of Geelong's biggest weapons is that like, craftiness in the half forward line, but Brisbane equally have that with Zach Bailey.
Yeah.
Kalachi, who you said missed the September.
Loman, Rayner.
Yeah, well, Loman hasn't really had as good of a year as he did last year, but Charlie Cameron sort of come into form in the back end of the year. And it's been a while since Chaz has really got back to his best, but...
I think that forward line is the area, though, that like if anywhere where Brisbane have dropped off a little bit, it probably is the forward line. Like losing Danaher... Like
Logan Morris has lifted so much.
He is lifted. He has massively lifted. But like, can you absolutely rely on Eric Hipwood? I am a little bit concerned about a Charlie Cameron.
Is Hipwood out?
I thought he was in.
I thought Hipwood might be injured.
Double check that.
I'm pretty sure he is injured.
I mean, that would be a big deal because I feel... Who are they playing then? Sam Day?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
He continues a recovery from a calf strain he sustained in round 23.
I feel like they still need that, overall, they kind of still need that target man to be there for them. They've just got so many other killers around skirting around the half forward flank.
We got a comment from Zayan saying Eric Hipwood injured 3 weeks, and Liam confirms that Hipwood is out for the first week.
Yeah.
Assuming good with if they win that's only one game that he missed, presumably.
But yeah, I think it will be harder without that target man, 100%. Like that craftiness in the midfield. And one of the best games I went to this year was Geelong and Collingwood at the G. And I've said it on the stream before, like watching Bailey Smith in person, you see the amount of impact he has from defence to attack. But
he's not necessarily. I agree with you, but he's not necessarily a guy that is. How would you put it? Like when you compare him to say like Will Ashcroft and Lachie Neale, he's not that guy that's like really in and under and clean and getting it out.
Techie.
Basically a techie guy.
Much more of a sort of athlete than a Lachie Neale or a Will Ashcroft, whereas they're like, much more highly skilled. I agree. Harris Andrews, All-Australian, just goes to the Coleman medalist. It's a pretty fun matchup.
Yeah, I'll cop the responsibility for this AA team, but I have never had an All-Australian team slaughtered so hard. We put Wiedering, and I say we, it was
really?
me. Yeah. Well, wow. I mean, the thing is with All-Australian teams, I can't say that I've watched every team equally.
Yeah.
I just thought Wiedering had a great year, and evidently, like, he didn't even make the squad.
Yeah.
So that blew up in my face. But we got some good engagement, so thank you.
It all went well.
Yeah.
But I think probably, again, this comes back to watching that, listening to that SEN episode this morning, but I think they sort of did it with, they didn't want like another one of those like Sam Taylor type defenders in Jacob Wiedering, like sort of one-on-one beasts.
Yeah.
They kind of went for Harris Andrews there as that more intercepting type. Is how they did it. But yeah, that'll be a fun matchup. Absolutely. Who wins that?
I've tipped Brisbane. I think that.
I meant the matchup specifically.
Oh, the matchup.
Yeah.
Well,
aren't you embarrassed?
It's like the immovable object versus the unstoppable force, bro. I feel like the supply to Jezza will be a bit less than it has been in the back end of the year. Like even Bailey Smith said it on the awards night. He was like, "Yeah, we've had a pretty like easy draw heading into finals." Like,
I noticed he said that.
That's pretty crook.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that they kind of are doing that a little bit though to try to like get the media to play them down? They don't want to be favourites, so they're sort of like, "Yeah, we have had an easy draw."
Yeah, we're not going to win the flag. Definitely not.
Yeah, that's not us.
Bulldogs game. Who do you think gets the best of that matchup? I don't have an answer for that.
It's worth saying... Oh, we're talking about the matchup still? I was going to go to the game. Wait, Cameron and Andrews? I think it depends so much about what happens up the field. If the ball's coming in clean to Jeremy Cameron, I think he's a more... transcendent talent.
Yes.
To be honest. So in theory, he would have the better of that matchup slightly. But again, if Brisbane are putting pressure on the midfield And the
So
ball's
what you're saying
coming in
is the
sloppy.
game's going to be won and lost in the midfield?
Yeah, well, I think that matchup will depend absolutely on how the ball's coming into Jeremy Cameron.
Yes.
Darcy Gardner probably goes to Jazza. Harris Andrew roams off Shannon Neal and goes to intercept, says Liam.
Yeah, it's a good point. The amount of like targeting they'll do with Cameron will be pretty significant, I reckon.
Do you think the Cats have flown under the radar because of their draw at the tail end? I think they have.
Yeah.
They've just been getting the job done.
I think we sort of said that on that previous stream too, didn't we? Like they're kind of they're playing the best football. Yes, that's matchup dependent as well because you can kind of supercharge the numbers a little bit, but they've had an awesome season. I think they've got the players. Someone mentioned there too, Sam Day and Ty Gallop is the other one.
Yeah,
playing at the moment. So he's just a rookie, but he's played some pretty good footy as well, coming off as the sub, I think, in recent games.
Tips.
Yeah.
It's worth mentioning here, one thing we haven't covered is the Lions have won 4 out of the last 5 between these two sides. And last year, with all due respect to Sydney, this was the real grand final, given what happened a week later. And I remember with Geelong, I remember not being super convinced about them going into the finals last year, only for them to annihilate Port Adelaide in week 1. And I think everyone was like, oh God, like Geelong are going to win the premiership. Like what the hell? That was just scintillating. And then they came up against the immovable object in the Brisbane Lions. So it'll be a great game and potentially a grand final preview. I'm just going to say the Lions with the head-to-head, they'll win this game by
I just want to ask this question before we fully wrap this game up, but whose midfield would you take between these two teams? Because I think they're very different.
Brisbane without a second guess, like a second thought.
I think it is the correct answer.
I think it's closer than that.
Yeah, so do I.
When you consider Holmes, Bailey Smith, Dempsey on the wing, Atkins.
Like inside particularly.
Say like starting 4.
Well, yeah, Neil, Ashcroft, Dunkley, and Raina Bailey.
Versus
Other
Smith.
Ashcroft.
I mean, generally speaking, Geelong would be Smith, Holmes, and Atkins, right? That'd be there.
Yeah, that'd be this.
And then like Buse.
Then you got Dangerfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
pretty
it's
good
2025
midfielder.
Dangerfield. It's forward Dangerfield.
He's still pretty fucking good though, isn't he?
I think Dangers plays his best footy as a forward at the moment.
What I would say, like if you take out Rayner and Bailey and those forwards who spend minimal time on ball, Geelong are more dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Physically dynamic.
Smith and Holmes in particular.
Yes.
Are you just referring to like running ability though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, line breaking, changing angles. Max Holmes gets the ball. I know you guys know this, but I've seen Max Holmes get the ball like a metre away from an opponent, not even really break into full stride, and suddenly he's got 20 metres on his opponent.
Yeah, I know.
He's so
quick.
It's insane.
And they're both they are both still. We talk about the technical ability, but they are both still very skillful.
Yeah. 100%. Now there's levels to it at the elite end though, isn't there? You know what I mean?
100%. It's a good. I think it's a good. Like those things are good talking points. Like different styles of midfielders. Werty says Leicester usually does a good job on Cameron. I do recall that being a matchup. Leicester going to Cameron at times. More that medium type.
Timmy saying Atkins is underrated. I mean, you're going to be underrated when you're in a midfield with Bailey Smith and
he's a good
Max
player.
Holmes.
Yeah,
I'll keep an eye out. Will Neil be ready? I think they've just put him on ice. I reckon he's ready to rock and roll.
From the beginning, they said first week of finals he'll be fit.
Yeah.
So that would have been a month, right? Last 3 games plus the bye.
I've got the injury list here.
Brisbane have won their last 5 at the MCG, says Liam. That's crazy for a team that had a perceived MCG hoodoo for a while. 5 in a row.
What do you guys think of like Brisbane having the wood over them, and then also on the flip end, like Geelong have got to beat them at some point? Like, what side do you lean towards?
How much does that just sort of, I don't know, almost become like superstition, right? Where you're kind of going, well, they've got to beat them eventually.
Yeah.
But I suppose if you were watching games between Adelaide and Collingwood over the last 11, if you thought that after 5, it wasn't happening until, you know what I mean? Like
it's got the wood over them.
For me, it depends how close those games are. Because if they're all narrow wins, then you'd think, okay, well, you know, you change a couple of variables here and the result changes. But like, there's some teams that, for some reason, annihilate teams for no reason. And this is not an example of that. So therefore, I can't read too much into it, but we know Brisbane is good at the G. They play Geelong relatively well.
Another good point here from Lewis. Would this be an entirely different game if it was played in Geelong? I don't get why finals aren't played in Geelong. I know they get a big money incentive to play at the G, but...
Yeah.
Well, that's the entire thing. That's the entire argument.
Are you trying to win flags or are you trying to win money?
I don't think Geelong get to choose, do they? I don't think it's Geelong's choice. I think they would happily play games at GMHBA. I think it's the AFL.
Yeah.
The AFL is contracted to have a certain amount of finals at the MCG. So once in the 90s, West Coast had to play a home game at the MCG in finals. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I reckon it was like 1990 even.
That's incredible. So they had to travel over and
and host Collingwood. I think it was. I might be fudging the
It's the most
details
Collingwood
there.
thing of all time.
Yeah, it might be more flexible these days now. I don't know if that's still in place because it seemed bizarre with the amount of non-Victorian teams we have, particularly in the 8. But I'm sure that there was in the contract, the 57-year contract, there's a deal around, a clause around like finals. They might be able to do it over a couple of years, maybe.
It sounds like some like medieval bullshit, doesn't it? The 57-year contract.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Well, it's the one. Is it 2057, the MCG
Treaty
contract,
of
or I can't remember exactly what it is. The Treaty of Versailles.
There was a good comment here saying that it's from Wordy saying Geelong had the wood over Brisbane until a couple of years ago. They pumped them in 2 prelims. So
that was kind of a Brisbane issue, though. I feel like
that was when they
finals
were
performances.
the Nearly men, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Oh well, spoke a lot about that game.
Yep.
What's next, Dylan?
Next game is Hawthorn versus the Giants. First elimination final Saturday at 3:15 p.m. Bit of a weird time, but I guess that's not too bad, is it? It's some afternoon footy. Last time these two met was round 3. It was a wet and windy Tasmania. We streamed that game, Druzy.
We did.
Back
I
then.
remember that.
And from memory, the Giants got out to a massive lead at quarter time. I don't think Hawthorn had kicked a goal, and then the Hawks pretty much controlled the game from there. They won it by 12 points. I don't know how much you can take from this game.
That was like a 6-goal scoring game.
Because there was a wind.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was sort of like once Hawthorn had got back into the game, they were just able to control the wind after that a little bit. So
Remember who had a big day that day?
Will Day.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I feel like he was pretty big that day. So the question is, I was going to make a joke. I was going to make a joke. I was going to make a joke about will Day win this game, but then I stuttered.
He's
at the
not
last
playing.
minute.
He's out. Weddle is playing VFL footy this week, which is imagine playing in the VFL and it's like there's Josh Weddle. You're like fuck.
So he's coming back from injury.
Like just I don't know. Just
If you're playing against him.
if you're playing against Josh Weddle and you're just like a VFL player, like obviously VFL is still a higher standard, but Josh Weddle on his day is one of the best players in the competition.
He'd also be a nightmare for VFL players because he's just so athletic. He'd be just running over the ground. He'd look like a gazelle.
Yeah, at that level, those traits would stand out even more. Yeah.
But he will be back for the GWS game if he makes it through and is fit. But yeah, Will Day really broke that game open in the previous time they met. So they're gonna have to have different strings to their bow. What have you guys made of Hawthorn's end of season form? I obviously missed a large chunk of it.
So who did they beat? Oh, they lost to Brisbane in the final game. I actually didn't catch much of that because
they pumped Collingwood, didn't they?
Honestly,
pumped Collingwood.
Their last month has been really, really strong.
Yeah.
Lost to Adelaide in Adelaide. Mm-hmm. Then they had a win in between that against Melbourne. They smacked up Melbourne. That's when I said they were like flicking the ball around like prime Barcelona.
Yeah.
Just their passing was unbelievable. Then they went up to Brisbane and sort of narrowly lost that. So I feel like they're good. And I know this has like been a typical narrative around Hawthorn pretty much for the entire season, but it's like they do just feel like a couple of star midfielders short when Will Day's out of the team. Newcomb, Nash, probably Ward and Warple, these types. Like, is that really a good enough midfield to make a finals run? It might be enough to beat the Giants, but I don't know if it's enough.
It's not, is it? It's a Petrarca, it's a Butters, it's a Harley Reid.
I mean, Zach Butters would be it.
Yeah, that's all they're missing. And it's
Everything else is great. Like, you look at that back six, largely it's got enough balance of offense and defense in there for them to get the ball out, defend those really, really difficult players. Like Battle's had an awesome season. Barras has been good. The forward line, particularly with the smalls, is super dangerous. And when they've got like that right mix of Deere, Lewis and Chol, I think like that's probably a good enough forward line to win a premiership. Meek's a good ruckman, I think.
You've got all Australian players at both ends, Battle and Gunson.
Yeah. And in this particular matchup, I think Meek's going to be really important because if he can get on top of Briggs, that'll give them like a little bit of an advantage from the midfield. But yeah, it just doesn't it feels like across 4 quarters against these really good teams, first or second week of finals, they're going to run into trouble.
The Hawks are quite highly ranked for defensive transition, which is something that will help them against the Giants of all teams. They're actually quite a good defensive, they've got a really strong defensive profile. I think as well, the interesting thing with them is I think they're 3-7 against the top 8 sides, but they've generally all been good games.
Yeah.
So there was obviously a smashing win over Collingwood. They beat the Giants. There's a close loss to Geelong, Fremantle in Perth, Brisbane at the Gabba. They were very competitive, and the Crows like that. Those were all good performances at least the ones that I watched. So that sort of bodes well for them. Their performances against the best teams, while they haven't gotten over the line, they have generally shown up. And I would agree with what you touched on earlier that over the last month, I've probably seen the best version of Hawthorn that I have seen at any point this year.
Yep.
So are we at the tipping point yet, or is there any other point? I was going to jump in.
Have GWS's midfield been consistent enough this year?
The GWS's midfield, I mean, from a ball movement point of view, they've been great, like Callahan and these types, and the half forwards get involved, but they haven't been good enough from a stoppage point of view.
Which is crazy when you've got Tom Green in there.
Yeah, I know. He's the best first possession player in the comp, just about. I know I say that about a lot of players. I say that about Sarong, I say that about Rao, but he is up there. And as far as actually, I think from a first possession point of view specifically, he actually is the number one player in the comp statistically. I don't really get that. The only thing that I can put it down to from a pure stoppage point of view is Briggs, because he's had a poor season. I feel like he was really up and coming a couple of years ago, and he's just sort of plateaued. He gets smashed around consistently, and that hurts him.
People are very hot on the Giants, like people that have that opinion of like the Giants can go all the way, but like I'm just looking at the team that they fielded last week. Their bench, like. Good players, but young players like Grzuski. How do you even say
I think Grzuski is how they pronounce it, yeah.
Like Rowson, Ware, Fonte, Darcy Jones, second-year player, Angwin, Harvey Thomas. Like, there's so many young players in this team. Like, you take out all the players that they've lost over the last little
that's
bit.
the thing. I think there is an element where this year is a bit of a transition year. Yeah. It's just that they've got a few of those players at the late end of their career, like exactly how long are they going to go on, I suppose, and can you keep the entire team together?
So Toby Green.
Yeah, Toby Green I'm thinking about. Probably how old's Hogan? He might be a little bit younger.
30.
Yeah.
30, yeah.
I don't know why. For some reason, Hogan feels like one of those players that wouldn't play late. Like he wouldn't play till 35, but that could be just a complete...
Yeah, I mean, he missed a fair bit of footy, I reckon, through his personal... Does that increase his longevity? I don't know.
It could do.
He peaked later as well.
He's on a day-by-day at the moment. Jesse Hogan with a foot injury.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think that's been another tale of their season, like just having interruptions with injuries to really good players. Like Taylor's been out for a long time. Buckley's been out for a long time. Finn Callahan had a 4 or 5 week period out as well. Hogan.
They say Kelly, Hogan, Stringer and Buckley are likely to be available against Hawthorn.
I mean, that's big.
Yeah.
That pretty much all of those players that Druzy just mentioned on the bench probably make way for those guys.
100%. Yeah.
That's true.
And they are, like, as you said, Jesse, they're like, as far as moving the ball from the back half, they're really good at that. So when they lose clearance, it doesn't necessarily hurt them.
Yeah. Have they ever been a strong clearance side? I don't think so.
Not an awesome clearance side. No, not under this sort of regime. Yeah. They've always been the orange tsunami from the back half.
The amount of midfield talent they've had over the years, now I'd be like, I don't know, Callahan and Green or Bus, like, I don't know. We'll see which midfield shows up.
It's a little bit. I feel Bedford's an underrated player.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's a good player.
Good start to the year. Did he finish strong?
I mean, he's still a role guy, but I think he's a role guy with a little bit more, like with his pace and stuff like that. Like he can be creative as well, but he is like he's I guess he's a tagger of some sort.
I'm back in. This one is the hardest one to tip for me, I reckon.
The gap between the Giants' best and worst is up there with any team in the competition, I think. Like they have, in the last month, they've had great wins over the Gold Coast Suns, sloppy against St Kilda, but I'll give them Mulligan because they always seem to slip up against them. 88-point loss against the Western Bulldogs.
That's so
against
random.
a team that didn't play finals. And I know the Dogs are potent, but it's those kinds of performances that make me nervous when we compare it to Hawthorn, who haven't knocked off that many top 8 teams, but they have been in all of those games just about.
Yeah. This is completely anecdotal for me, but I feel like every time I watch the Giants, they're 4 goals down 10 minutes into the first quarter.
Yeah.
And then they're just wrestling their way back in. It either like like the Western Bulldogs game, they didn't wrestle their way back in.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do and sometimes they win the game. But I feel like they're constantly trailing games.
That Sydney game was ridiculous. I was watching that in Geneva Airport and like we had to go to our gate.
Little drop there.
Yeah.
I was in Geneva.
Having a glass of Pinot Noir. Continue.
I couldn't afford a glass of Pinot Noir in Geneva, mate.
Yeah,
but
true.
The point I'm trying to make is, which alludes to your down by 4 goals point, is I went to the gate, shut my laptop, and Sydney were like 5 goals up, and they had like a 10-goal third quarter or something like that. So they can pile it on. That's
how they play, which I suppose like Brisbane are a little bit like that too, and we seem to have more confidence in them because they won the premiership last year, right?
That's true.
But I don't know. I do feel like if I'm tipping this game right now, which team do I have the most trust over? It's Hawthorn.
I trust Hawthorn more as well.
Agree. Yeah.
I tipped GWS in my finals prediction, but now I'm leaning towards Hawthorn.
I don't know what the record is. I should have this in front of me, but I don't think the Giants have been particularly strong at home.
No, that's true.
No, and it's not a fortress as well. Like, they don't have a home ground advantage.
There's a loss to Port Adelaide there this season.
Yes.
We beat them there.
Yeah, close loss to close win over Richmond. I think they had to come back from being a fair way down.
Yeah. So they finished 5th, which makes it look like there should be a bigger gap. But it's not really there, is it? Like, they're not getting any advantage from finishing 5th.
West Coast kept them to about 83-point margin, so I guess closer than it should be.
That's a good comment here from Liam P. If GWS kick straight, I think they win. That's my favourite football analysis of all time. Kick ball straight, win game football.
Yeah.
How hard is it? Let's stop all this analysis. Just kick the ball straight.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I genuinely feel from a match play point of view, if you actually take out the efficiency in front of goal, it'll be an even game. You'll look at the stats to this game at the end and like everything will be pretty even.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
West Coast fans will be death riding the Hawks in this clash because we have their first round draft pick. So up the Giants.
Ooh, yeah.
But I am tipping Hawthorn. Just the trust piece. This whole first week is pretty even. It's pretty justifiable whichever team you tip. It's such is the nature of the top 8 this year.
There was a comment from Ryan Hall, sort of alluding to that tiki-taka Barca style that you were talking about, Dill. Which game style do you think does more damage? The Orange Tsunami, the transition from the back half, or the Hawks controlled method, which was a big part of their premiership success back in the day as well.
I said more to that.
And then he says, see the Giants' defence a lot stronger than the Hawks' forwards and vice versa down the other end. I think their forward and back line sort of match up, to be honest. I think
I actually had a comment on my sheet here that the comment I wrote was both teams handle each other well.
Yeah.
Like, did that sound
like a secure attachment style?
No, like, you know what I mean? Like the weapons of one team, the other team has the kind of players that can handle that.
Yeah, I think the word you're looking for is fondle, but yes.
Yeah, exactly.
We all just lost the plot.
I wanted to go back to that
for
comment.
Different reasons.
I think it's interesting, like what's better. I think the answer, it's probably not a very sexy answer, but I don't think it's one or the other. Like, I think you have to be able to, like, modern football demands that you go into modes because you're never going to be able to rely on defensive half transition. It'll look good. And I think it probably, is he talking about when he talks about Hawthorn there, kind of that possession-based style?
Yeah, like what does more damage?
Yeah, I mean, I think you need both because I reckon if all you can do is kick and chip the ball around, you're probably not going to be like dynamic enough in the contested footy.
Yeah.
And different phases of the game. So I think the game demands that you drop into those different styles when it's needed and against different opposition.
I'd probably say Orange Tsunami, being able to transition the ball, bit of counter attack. Like if you're coming up,
if I was comparing transition versus like stoppage heavy game styles, I'd definitely say transition heavy game styles. But as far as like, I think most good teams, like look at Brisbane, you look at Collingwood, who have won premierships in the last couple of years, they've been able to do both.
Yeah.
Very well said. Now on to the real stuff. Ooh. Thank God we got through all that fodder.
I think this is the easiest game of all of them to tip. We're talking about Gold Coast and the Fremantle Dockers at Optus Stadium on Saturday night at 7:35 p.m. Now, the Dockers have beaten the Suns the last 3 times in a row. So I just think at home, with a young side coming through like the Gold Coast Suns who have never played finals before.
Did you think he was going to say Fremantle?
No.
Because I thought he did. I thought you were going to set the scene
I feel
for
like
Fremantle.
you're just like,
I'm saying Fremantle.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying I think Fremantle win.
I thought you were like teeing up like, here's every single stat in your favour why you should win. You can't drop this, can you? Can you? You can.
Well played.
You can. No, I'm going Freo. I just think the momentum that they've carried into the final series, they haven't slipped up. I assumed that they probably would have slipped up last week. Tipped the Dogs in that game on the road. Gold Coast, are they going to be able to do anything significant? I think they're probably the weakest team inside this top 8 overall. Not necessarily on paper, but experience-wise.
Yeah.
That forward line worries me a little bit with the likes of Ethan Reid, and Walter's actually not in the team, is he? They've brought in, is it Farah?
Yeah.
To kind of play that sort of pseudo-tall role. So they've got, I don't know, it just looks a little bit disjointed in the forward half of the ground. Ben King's a very familiar one-dimensional forward.
He's good at that dimension, though.
He is good at that dimension. He is good at that dimension. But how does, again, they're another team similar to what we talked about with Geelong. They've had a fairly soft draw across the entire season. I think coming into the season, they had the easiest on paper.
They were saying before the season, like, if the Gold Coast Suns don't make finals in 2025, it's like a tragedy to the AFL. Like, because obviously it's like a big project that they've built there.
And they've limped in.
Yeah.
Like they've really only just made it in the end with that game against Essendon.
Gold Coast actually scare me a lot. I'm not going to lie.
To be fair, they won it by 95 points.
The last game.
So, yeah, it was more of a hop, skip and a jump rather than a limp. But
that was the biggest sure thing, though, of all time, them beating the Bombers.
Yeah. There was like 2 minutes of like, oh, this could be funny. Essendon. No.
Finish the sentence. I saw that the Dogs still had to go to training on Tuesday because they might be playing. And then the article said it was like really morbidly depressing.
Did you see the photo of Sam Darcy, Aaron Norton and Ed Richards in the same hospital room and that all just had surgery?
And Bailey Dale on the stage was also in a sling.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Imagine if they got up. That'd be throwing in some wounded soldiers. But,
100%.
Watching that Gold Coast game the other night.
That's why they lost.
It's hard to make... You have to make that comment. It's hard to compare how they're going to match up against us because Essendon are such a depleted young side that they just... Gold Coast moved the ball however they wanted to.
Yeah.
Rioli and...
That's a big in though, Rioli, because he hasn't played for a while. Is
it Richard sound back or am I getting him confused with Noble?
Noble.
Similar blonde ex-Collingwood players. So that was their one would at the start of the season. It was like, man, that's what they needed. That dimmer ball, transition off the back half. Mac Andrew, Sam Collins, Buelan down there really strong. Their midfield terrifies me. I think they're the second best clearance team in the AFL. And there's some sort of stat that like, if they win, I probably should have done some prep on this stat, but it's like if they win points from clearance, they win like 100% of games type thing. Noah Anderson could win the Brownlow, could be the best player in the AFL right now. Had 35 and 3 goals against Essendon.
Yeah, it was absolutely obscene.
The way that they were walking the ball out of their midfield and just
I don't think we have to dwell on that game though too much. Like that isn't the test here.
That's recency. That just shows at full flight.
Yes.
That's how good they can be.
Against the under 16 side.
Yes.
Having said that, they've beaten 3 of this year's top 4 with wins over the Adelaide Crows, a massive win over the Brisbane Lions. I think it was 11 goals.
And that was relatively recent too.
Yes, it was. Yeah, which we didn't actually mention when referring to Brisbane earlier. But that is a pretty good record against the top teams. For me, actually, I don't think this is a talent battle between these two games. Because I think if it's a talent battle, Gold Coast could go close to winning the whole thing on paper. But so much of this game will be psychological. I think Fremantle's come a long way in that space, obviously with a few big tests this year, but most notably, that was one of the biggest wins in their recent club history for a long time. And it clearly shows that was a mature team unwilling to lose. And I have faith that they will go into this final with that similar mindset. The Gold Coast Suns are a huge question mark, never having played a final. I think there's been, I thought I wrote down which players have played in finals on their list. There's not many. Daniel Rioli is obviously one. Noble. Any number of players that they've traded in could have played finals. But that for me is where I'm not sure I trust Gold Coast to come in and throw everything at this game. I think if they do, then absolutely it's a danger game for Fremantle. But for me, it's the trust piece rather than the talent or the structure.
It is, and it is hard to quantify because of the fact that Freo are still a young team as well, right? So they're still. It's not like they've played a ton of finals as well. But I think if you look at the body of work over the season for the Gold Coast Suns, you mentioned those good wins, but they've had more for me in recent times, more of those like kind of really poor losses.
Richmond at Marvel.
At Marvel. They're not
Fremantle. Take it.
I'm gonna let you sit in that one.
like the bad smell that it is. I'm trying to think of the other losses that they've had, but they've definitely had some. Obviously, the Port Adelaide one.
Yeah.
That didn't feel like a terrible loss to me because I feel like Port had a lot to play for in that game.
They did.
I also think that Port still they've underperformed this year, so that was probably. But
that essentially was a final for the Gold Coast Suns. Like they could have missed.
Yeah, it was for top 4 as well.
And it was crazy.
Yeah, it ultimately did cost them top 4. I kind of do agree with Drews there. I think that one, as far as poor losses go, that's not terrible. I mean, I think every team just about has had a poor loss.
They actually this season though, how many teams have lost to how many teams have lost to sides outside the top 8 or the top 9?
A lot of them.
I don't think there has been that many, and particularly since about the halfway point of the season, nobody's dropping games.
There's like 2 speeds to this league.
At
the moment,
unless it's a Sydney. I think Sydney were the one that knocked it. They got you guys late in the season. They got the Lions, so they were really the only giant killer. I think from about round 16 onwards, that was their only 2 losses.
Yeah, what gives me hope is like that difference. Like Freo actually haven't been great against the bottom sides this year. We've lost to St Kilda, Melbourne.
But you guys, that's more based in the front half of the year.
Yeah.
Because your second half's been incredible.
Yeah, and that's what gives me like a lot of confidence heading into this final series is our record against the best sides. Like, other than Brisbane and Geelong, I think we've beaten every other side in the top 8. I think we've beaten Hawthorn, GWS, Gold Coast, Adelaide, and you can't
Collingwood.
Collingwood.
Yeah, I don't think you said.
And then
Collingwood.
you can't be. Yeah. Anyway, so
Hawthorn.
we are a young side, but we have matured a lot. Like, we've had this list together for quite a while now. So we are young, but we've learned a lot of lessons. And I sort of said it off the top, like, that game against the Bulldogs felt like a game in the past that we would drop, where the expectations would overwhelm us. And that Brisbane game the previous Friday night sort of felt like that. So Lewis said Optus Stadium sold out, going to be a sea of purple. People talk about it as a home advantage, but as a Dockers fan, it has an anxious feel to it at the ground. It's almost like you get in the front half and like they almost bottle it because it's like so much excitement and energy.
It's almost like the way that they talk about, particularly while Manchester United have been like down the bottom of the table, like what Old Trafford's like.
Yeah.
It's kind of turned into a
frustration,
theatre of fear.
Yeah. Theatre of disappointment.
Yeah.
We don't need to go into that.
Well, let's dwell on this.
Yeah.
The way that we transition the ball is hot. I love it. Like, I'm not massive on the Luke Ryan kick-ins when he goes long to Sean Darcy and Luke Jackson in the same pack. They sort of bring it down to ground and let our Murphy Reid, Sam Switkowskis, Fredericks and Boltons go to work. When it works, great. That's what we saw at Marvel the other day when Murphy Reid gets his hands on the ball and we just got a paddock to run into. But the Dogs' defense made it look very good. And when you come up against a side that can hunt the contested ball and they're up for it and their pressure's high, I don't think that style of ball movement works. And when you eliminate the transition football against Freo, we've seen how shit we are at the slow chip mark. Like, we've been criticised for it for so long. It's a cliche, but yeah, just got to get field position with the midfield. But the Suns have one of the best clearance midfields in the comp. So it will be a very tough game. Like, I hope that sort of Gold Coast making finals is their, like, you know, their pinnacle. Like, we've made it and then they drop off.
Absolutely could happen.
But this is by no means an easy game. I do think, though, the way that our backs have held up this season, we've won, like 13 out of the last 15 now. Something silly.
That's your biggest strength, right?
Yeah, the way that we've set up behind the ball. And that's what Longmuir has implemented. Alex Pearce keeping Darcy to a goalless game for the first time since round 17 of 2024 is immense. Brennan Cox, if he held his form that he's had in the last 12 weeks of the season, he would have been All-Australian. He's one of the best intercept defenders in the league at the moment for me. Jordan Clark. And then like guys like Carl Warner has had such a good season as well.
I'd agree with that.
Can I just rein you back in here for a second?
I'm getting excited.
Yeah. Okay. Do you mind if I expose you very quickly?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. I believe the phrase to describe this game you used last night was Fremantle are going to mop the floor with Gold Coast. Do you remember saying that? Yeah. I think that was a direct quote. And you said that about Hawthorn too.
Did I?
I'll let that sit with you.
Did I?
Yeah.
I can't remember saying that.
Selective memory.
Pushing me in front of the bus there.
Well, that's made it
Did
weird.
I not?
No, you did say mop the floor.
Did I not say Gold Coast scare me more than any side?
I heard you say that right now.
No,
that was a minute ago.
No. I don't remember that. But
if I brought up all the things that you said at home, this channel would be cancelled. No. Yeah, thanks for reining me in there, Jesse.
Well, I think it needed to be said. You said mop the floor.
I did say to Caden, I was like, yeah, easy dub. But I don't actually think it will be.
I did see the fixture and I thought that's a good fixture for Freo. Like you would have rather get, I think, what was the other option getting? Hawthorn. I'd have rather get the Giant, the Suns.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, I think, our back six will hold up well against our forwards.
One thing, just when you were talking about the defence there, like that, I think that is Freo's biggest strength area.
Yeah.
Even what did Western Bulldogs score against you last week? What was the points?
I think it ended up being about 80 in the end.
They did too, but it was late.
Yeah.
They kicked a heap of goals late, yeah. But like I think at one point there, I thought in the last quarter, you've held them to like 10 goals, which they are a scoring machine.
I think it was 97.
97?
I think it was 97.
Was it 97 to 110 or something?
112.
Like
yeah.
I feel like they kicked a lot of goals late.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, it was 97.
At that point, our defence had held up enough to have that comfortable lead.
Exactly.
And the Bulldogs are also one of the most potent teams in the comp.
That's what I was saying, yeah. Rogue Wright says, Finn McRae robbed of All-Australian captain. We'll probably leave that one for later. Thanks, Rogue.
Chester for vice captain. Get
yeah,
in
baby.
the bin.
He's getting...
Shifty says, I reckon Freo win easily. They will be very scary the next year or after a team on the up. Well, we've been on a fat win streak heading into finals. I'm doing I did my finals predictions, and I know I'm an Uffie, I know I'm a purple-eyed Freo man, but I would take confidence. There was a question earlier, like who would I prefer, Brisbane at the Gabba or Geelong at the G? I don't think we'd have a chance against Brisbane at the Gabba, but the Cats at the G, I would actually fancy us in that picture.
Here we go.
I would.
I reckon you'll win this week. Don't
give us a chance against Geelong at the G if Brisbane win.
I think you're a chance. I wouldn't tip it, but I think you're a chance. Yeah.
No,
beat them in the last two finals as underdogs.
That was 12 years ago.
That's all right.
Is there a single player? Oh, 5, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That counts for
We got to get him a chip. We got to get him a flag.
Suns win just
for the Druzy crash out. Look, the Suns will be a tough test, but I think our defence will hold up nicely. Their midfield scares me. Hayden Young back into the side. Put Shea Bolton on the ball a little bit more. Luke Jackson had a really good game against him on ball. It was in the wet, so I'm not sure how that's going to look. I
like him in there. I reckon he gives you something a little bit different. When you're running that sort of Sarong-Brayshaw combo, he just breaks that up a bit.
My favourite midfield mix, you're going to love this, Jesse, last week was Caleb Sarong, Hayden Young and Neil Erasmus. That was winning more centre clearances than any other.
Overflowing with talent.
Bro, Neil Erasmus is coming of age.
He's had one good game.
He's had multiple good games.
Okay.
Continue.
Right.
Continue.
Okay. So who are we tipping? Just to put a line under. I'm Freo.
Yeah, Freo.
Yeah, Freo will win this game. Yeah.
Freo will win. I found that one probably of the 4 games. I thought that was the easiest to tip.
Yeah, I would agree with
Neil
that.
Erasmus, 3 votes.
Not a dead certainty, but of the 4 games, I agree. It's the easiest.
Yes. Okay, so we'll move into power rankings just to kind of see where we actually sit these teams for the long haul throughout the final series. Coming in at number 1 for me, just to kick things off, I have moved them from second into first, and I have gone with the Brisbane Lions here. Currently third on the ladder, as we know. I just think they've got so much finals nous in that team, so many match winners, as well as that technical midfield that we talked about, a good back six with some young up-and-coming players, and they're going to do damage again, aren't they? Like, they're probably going to win this flag.
Brisbane for the flag for me, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone got anything
They
different?
might have to play the Cats twice. I'm just sort of envisaging how this plays out. Like, if they win week 1, then they might have to meet them again in the grand final. I think it's probably the most likely grand final combo. So Yes.
Is there any disappointment from you guys that they actually weren't separated in the first week inside the top 4 so that then they would kind of both go straight through?
on the flip side,
It's a bit disrespectful
if
for
you
Adelaide.
play in week 1, you can play again in the grand final, whereas I don't know if that's possible if you are on the other different games and you both
you're
win.
right. Like if you didn't play and then
I don't know if I've got that right.
No, you're
I don't
right.
know if I've got that right.
That was my grand final prediction in the preseason was Cats versus Lions. So
Yeah, there you
I'm
go.
sort of riding
Wow.
that. But do you want me to just run through my 8, my power rankings? Is that how you want to do
we
it?
can.
We'll start with number 1.
Well, mine,
If you want.
Brisbane.
Oh, you went Brisbane as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're
I actually went the Cats.
oh
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like them. I don't know. I just think they've flown under the radar. Look, it's hard to really make a case that they should be higher than Brisbane. It's just vibes that we're going off at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Really. I mean,
Analysis.
even the argument that Brisbane have finals experience is well, it's true, but it's kind of also a vibe that we get because we've seen them do damage in finals before. That also applies to the Cats here, albeit probably a few new players in that mix, but they've still played finals. I'm really thinking of Bailey Smith, actually. He's played in a grand final. So
It is funny though how much we put down to that, isn't it? That experience in finals, because we most of the time when you were analysing football games, you're like, who's got the best players, who's got the best coach, the best game style, those sorts of things. But that comes into the mental side of it more.
Yeah.
And it's still a big deal.
Yeah.
Shea Bolden's going to get his 4th flag. 3-1.
okay, I was like, well, how do we
Finals
get there?
experience.
Yeah.
I was like,
Tom Sato says, it's anecdotal, but every Brisbane fan I speak to isn't feeling confident about their fitness.
that's good insight because
That's something you wouldn't pick up on as a not Brisbane fan.
No, I mean, they have had their injury concerns in the back half of the year. They've had a lot of missing players. I think Chris Fagan said a couple of weeks ago in a press conference, like it's there. He does say a lot of stuff like that, to be fair, but he's like, this is our best ever season just because of the adversity of losing players. But I don't know, maybe that's the thing. Maybe they are kind of getting players back too quickly.
There was an 11-goal loss to Gold Coast not that long ago as well, which shouldn't be totally ignored. And I do remember a big patch in the early part of the season. They were winning games, but they were playing half a game. Like they came over the top to beat West Coast in the last quarter, for instance. They did the same thing against Geelong. Collingwood schooled them around that time. And there's probably more examples, but I felt like it took them a while to really play complete games.
I like what Zayden said. If Freo make it past the semi, they will win the grand final, no problem. Can we make that guy a moderator?
Why do Freo keep coming into
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
I'm just reading the chat, bro. Just reading the chat. All right. So after Brisbane, I think I've said all year Brisbane and Geelong, but I feel like Adelaide, if they face Geelong in a prelim, we'll get to the promised land of playing in the last game of September.
Geelong are the only team that's beaten Adelaide there this year.
Well,
It's just
the
I'm
Hooters
not
gotta
saying
go
you're
at some
wrong.
point.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong.
Wait, can you say that again? So if Geelong get Adelaide,
At Adelaide Oval in a prelim. So if Brisbane beat
you're
them,
tipping Adelaide there.
I would back Adelaide, yeah.
That would rely on Geelong losing
To Brisbane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would buck your Adelaide theory of teams coming into the finals and making the granny.
I don't have Adelaide making my grand final.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I as I said, I've had that same grand final all year, but when I did my predictions, I was just like, Adelaide, they're the hot, shiny new top 4 team. So I did have them. I've got them. I actually think Geelong is second for me, then Adelaide. And then I've got Freo in 4th. And who can tell me anything different?
Freo are 4th.
Yep.
So
Interesting.
I just want to clarify that point. So with the teams not playing finals and playing a grand final, they were the premiership teams. I didn't go through teams that had made the grand final and lost.
Yes.
Yeah, just to clarify that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
Because there would probably be a few examples of that.
Yeah, I got us above Collingwood, GWS, Hawthorn, and then Gold Coast.
So I'm Brisbane, I'm Geelong, I'm Adelaide, and I'm Giants, which is pretty weird.
I went
because
Collingwood.
because I tipped Hawthorn to beat them.
We'd be.
Yeah, that cannot possibly make sense.
That doesn't make
does
any
not
sense.
make any sense.
No, I've done that wrong.
That's why we did Fremantle 9th in our power rankings, because you can't tip the Bulldogs and then say Fremantle are more likely to win the flag. So the same applies here.
Freo wouldn't. If there was a world where Freo and GWS made the grand final, I think our footy's better than theirs.
Yeah. Is there life on that planet in that world that you're describing? Yeah.
How many games did your team win this year, Jesse?
Doesn't mean your team's going to win the flag.
No. At least you have a shot.
Just means my team isn't either.
Western Australian banter. Who's 5 to 8?
So unimpressed from you.
I just ran through mine, but I'll say it again. So Brisbane, Geelong, Adelaide, Freo, Collingwood, GWS, Hawthorn, Gold Coast.
I had the same top 3. I went Geelong, Brisbane, Adelaide. Collingwood is still in my 4. I think if you make the top 4, have the MCG factor as well, being a good MCG side, and just a belief that they would deliver in finals, I think I put them ahead of Hawthorn and then Fremantle. Again, MCG factor, hard to split those two. I think Hawthorn's form has been compelling, Fremantle there. And then the 2 teams that I think will go out in week 1 with the Giants and the Gold Coast Suns being 7th and 8th.
Yes. That's what I have tipped as well, except I've somehow in my power rankings ended up with Giants at 4, so we'll just ignore that. And then I've gone Collingwood, Hawthorn, Fremantle, Gold Coast.
So the Giants out in week 1, but still higher than Fremantle.
I don't get how. I'm not going to argue over if Freo were the 5th or the 6th or the 7th in the power rankings. Like we're better than Hawthorn and GWS.
I did that completely exclusive of one another, so I didn't look at the logic when I was actually as in tipping the game.
Fair.
So I kind of just went who is more likely to do a run into the finals.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like Freo and Gold Coast are the least likely to make a run.
I'm not going to get into this.
I see what you mean because it's depends on
Well, we've beaten GWS comfortably. We've beaten Hawthorn and we've won 13 of our last 15. So how are you having GWS and Hawthorn above?
Yeah, but that's like saying how do you have Adelaide not being first when they're on top of the ladder and they've just beaten Collingwood and
everyone basically except for the Cats. Yeah.
So
we're not taking anything. We're not going into any context.
I would have the Lions and Cats above them based on just experience. Do you think GWS and Hawthorn are they
both have more experience than you guys.
Is that why you have them above us?
Not exclusively. I think they've got better. I think the way they play is more conducive to winning finals.
Okay, fair enough.
Overall,
yeah. All right, there we go. That's the finals. Week 1. Keen.
Beautiful. I am going to have to take my mid-show leak. If you guys,
yeah. And we'll be talking about trades very soon.
Is that all right?
That was a good segue.
Yes. We've got so next up we have the bottom 10 grade. So we're going to grade those teams, talk about their season, why they were good and why they were bad, but mostly bad, right?
Mostly bad, some good. We should wait for Jesse to get back into this. We can
we will
read some comments in the meantime.
Who have you got for me? Shifty says, don't forget Adelaide had a 5-day break on that Geelong versus Adelaide game. A lot of people bringing up Adelaide's 5-day breaks.
If you guys were to pick one team to miss the 8 next year who made it this year, who would it be?
I like that. One team to miss that's made it this year.
Safe Freo.
That is a great... I mean, obviously you got to look at draw and stuff like that. I don't know, it feels different this year. It feels like all of the teams in the 8 this year are good.
Yeah.
Whereas I would have been... I feel I naturally last year would have said Port Adelaide.
It's crazy to think that the side that finishes second, you're like, they'll slide.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got 7 out of my top 8 right from my ladder predictions.
So did I.
Yeah.
7 out of 8.
Who was the team that you had in?
So Sydney were in.
Sydney. Yeah.
And yeah, they were the one.
You'd never guess who I had in.
That didn't make it.
Yeah.
Oh, Melbourne.
Yeah. Well, I got Sydney spot on, GWS spot on, a few others. But I looked back at it, I was like,
you didn't die on that hill. You rotted on that hill.
Yeah,
of Melbourne.
I did. But look, we'll get on to Melbourne soon. They were competitive in a lot of games this year, and they've just not been able to close out games for the longest time.
Yeah, that's crazy. But that's almost one of the criticisms of them, though, isn't it? Because they all of their problems, like the forward connection, the closing out games, those sorts of things. It's all just it's frigging been happening for 3-4 years. So how can you not see it?
Yeah,
they took so long to see it. I think they've had so many opportunities to make moves as well. We will get into that.
Yes.
We don't want to go too early. Jesse is back.
They're going to be a big talking point this offseason, the Ds and the Saints. They're probably...
Lewis has actually just said, not related, but will you boys be doing a live stream of the Brownlow medal count?
Dylan, you love the Brownlow medal count. It's your favourite night of the year.
I do. I love the Brownlow.
Just not the integrity of the...
Oh, yeah. I actually don't even care about that, to be honest. It's not like I hate the Brownlow.
Yeah.
But it's not...
It's not the best player in the competition.
It's not the best player in the competition. That's all I'm saying. So
I agree 100% with you, Dylan. I share that. And I enjoy it as a spectacle. It's a good fun night.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they voted Bailey Smith And was it Noah Anderson as the best players in the comp? Was that
No, that was coaches' votes.
That was
which is the award that I probably personally put most stock into out of the ones available. And Dacos was voted the MVP.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep. Yeah, right.
That's fair. Everyone's happy in that scenario, aren't they?
Yeah, everyone gets a medal.
Yeah. I ran in a race.
We actually didn't, I don't know if we were going to touch on this. It wasn't in the planning. But the All-Australian team in general, there's been a lot of discussion about it. You mentioned it with Worrell missing out. Probably the biggest takeaways are...
No Wiedering?
Not even in the squad.
Where does Matt Taberner fit into this?
I would say the biggest ones are also Jeremy Cameron as
that was weird.
captain. And it was a weird speech, obviously, how he said, like, I've never captained anything.
They've done that with Buddy Franklin and Tom Hawkins?
Yes.
I think
Both of them
said that.
weren't club captains. He definitely thought it was weird. And then obviously those like the bench spots, I suppose, like Sarong, Dacos, Rowell, Bontempelli. It was funny because in our video we did, Jesse, you were really worried about having 3 midfielders on the bench.
I know.
They doubled down and went 4.
Yeah. And a 5th sub. No, I thought that was a bit of a piss take, to be honest. But at the end of the day, like, all the other players deserving probably. Yeah. But you feel flat if you were like the 7th best defender in the comp and you're like, ooh, this is my year.
Yeah, Rogue Rider and Lewis mentioning Elliott. I thought he would have been a lock.
I thought I thought he was a
Zach Bailey
lock.
in? Has Zach Bailey?
Yeah.
I love Zach Bailey. We were speaking about him last stream, how he's like my scariest player to come up against. Did he have an All-Australian year? Must have. He's an All-Australian.
It's possible that I just didn't notice, but we didn't even consider him for our
Who
team.
was the one that surprised you the most?
Zach Bailey for me.
Okay, it was probably Battle for me.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but
he had a
he
good
sort of
year.
looked back over, like his matchups over the year, and it's like sort of makes sense. But Battle over Worrell. I've just loved watching the Crows and Worrell this year, so that shocked me the most. Him being out, Sarong being in didn't surprise me, but he had a better year last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had the same sort of theory with a lot of people had Butters in their teams, and I didn't have Butters because I felt like he'd actually regressed a little bit.
Yeah.
So similar one there, but pretty good team. I mean, I'm pretty happy with it overall. Heaney and Bailey in the forward line. Was it McCluggage, Dawson, Smith? There's not many.
Yeah, the midfield was pretty much a slam dunk, except for the fact they picked 2 extras.
Yes. Which, in all honesty, I don't really give a shit about because it doesn't play anyone. I know people say like it's got to have position. It's got like rough positional integrity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There are defenders in the back line.
Yeah, you just got to feel for those guys who don't play midfield that there's less of a value placed on their roles, I suppose.
Yes.
Which,
I do agree with that. All right, let's get into this. Bottom 10 teams, giving a grading. Just to touch on, for me anyway, how I've kind of gone about it. I've gone with like a combination of what we're grading them on for 2025. Performance, a bit of like expectation of what we had at the start of the season, like where we actually had them there. Finishing position, obviously, so where they actually finished on the ladder. And then kind of their prospect going forward and whether they've been able to like over the 2025 season being able to blood younger players, which kind of helps their prospect going forward as well. Because I feel like some teams are in kind of purgatory with where they are with their list. And I've even bought in some of the trades for some teams as well that they've been able to get done, which could help them for next season. It's still part of their success overall. I don't know. Have you guys kind of gone with a similar...
Mostly, I think the expectation piece is key because if you eliminate expectation, then you just grade it from 10th to 18th in descending order. So the expectation part, and that's a little bit hard to really get a feel of, like what did that club expect versus what I expected. That those two things are going to be different. So I think that pointing out the youth exposure is good for certain teams. That's probably less important for someone like a Bulldogs than it is for a West Coast Richmond or Essendon.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? I think that those clubs are clearly in rebuild mode. So for me to speak to that, the Bulldogs, they did get games into youth and that's great, but it probably doesn't have the same emphasis when grading them in terms of their season.
Okay,
for me
so
personally.
I'll start there then.
We're starting at the top.
Well, I'm starting at 9th.
Yeah, let's go down to that.
Finishing 9th, yeah. So
end on a high note with West Coast.
Yeah, I was going to say, save the best for last.
I've given the Bulldogs, and I reckon this is the first one where a lot of people are going to disagree with me here. I've given them a B+. I think coming into the season, they were the team that everyone was saying is going to drop. The arse was going to fall out of them. They had key injuries to a lot of their best players. Bontempelli was out at the start of the season. Treloar was out at the start of the season. They had a season-ending injury to Waitman, which the significance wasn't known. They then lose Darcy in the first 4 to 5 rounds as well. And I think there's probably a couple of other injuries that are in there. So there was a lot of doom and gloom around the Dogs. You've got to take into consideration that the expectation changes across the season, and it clearly did. By like the midway point of the season, they were potentially going to make top 4. So they've dropped away significantly, and it's a bit of a, what would you say? Like, it's a bit of a choke, isn't it? They've kind of bottled the end of the season with some big losses there to miss the finals. But I think if you combine that with what you've seen now from Ed Richards has gone to that next level. So they have a star there in the midfield. They've got Sam Darcy, star.
Mm-hmm. The additions.
Yeah. So the negative is those guys had awesome seasons and played well, and they still didn't make finals. But there are young players coming through at the same time that I feel like they are in a bit of a transition. And I think people saw them in a transition at the start of the season. So
I'm struggling to weigh up if like the promise outweighs the disappointment of missing finals when you've got like, there's another year of the bond gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a fair call.
Yeah.
It's a fair question.
Fraser, another one. Davidson that came in. Just, terrible defensively. I said it in my preseason, like if you have Rory Lobb as your main key defender, you are not going to make it far.
100%.
And David King said it a few weeks ago, like put a line through the Dogs. They're not going to make finals. They're not going to win the flag, which is crazy when you see how efficient they are going forward. I didn't think they were going to do too well this year. Bit of a, shit call, but I had them finishing in 15th, which was way unders.
So where does that leave you with them on grading them?
I just think I'd just had a bad view of them heading into the season and then saw how actually talented they were.
So you blame yourself?
Yeah, I was just stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. To offer an example, you and I both had Freo in our top 4. Freo finished 6th. So we can't then say Fremantle will get a D because they didn't make the top 4 because of what we predicted, right? So these little things are important.
I didn't have the Western Bulldogs. Are we talking about Freo?
I used Freo as an example. Let's go with the Dogs. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know if like preseason prediction comes into this one for me when you see how good their best football was and the fact that they're not playing in finals. So I'd probably just give them a flat C personally.
Flat C.
Yeah.
I feel like another element for me in judging this was when you mentioned the defence, but it's a pretty easily identifiable place to start to fix. I do think that the coaching part of it is interesting because I feel like Bevo's been a pretty bad defensive coach just in general.
Very stubborn.
Very stubborn.
He's so adamant that like this will work. It's like, no, mate, it hasn't.
It's not working. Yeah, it's consistently not working. So there's clearly personnel that they need to make that better, but it's also like he could change their game style to make that less leaky and give away some of the offense.
So interestingly though, I didn't exactly write down the stats, but they ranked pretty highly for defending chains, but they were one of the worst teams in the comp, bottom 6 for scores against once the ball was inside 50. So that kind of actually speaks to probably more
personnel.
Structure, but personnel. I think the guys that they actually have in that back line as opposed to the team defense that they play.
What I meant by Bevo, they tend to let runs happen really quickly on them from centre bounce. You even saw it in that Freo game at the weekend in the second quarter. Teams just go on this. Melbourne in 2021 in the grand final. Like teams just heat up from centre bounce and they can't seem to stop it.
Which is nuts given how much talent they have in the middle of the park there.
Yeah. But it's not really about their talent. It's about being able to defend the opposition when they're hot.
You think that's tactical, comes from the top?
I think so. I think so because I think he plays... the reason that the Dogs have been the best team at scoring from stoppage is Bevo. But it's also the reason that they give up those... huge momentum swings against them. Yeah. So it's not really necessarily a chain thing. It's more of an impact from centre bounce thing.
Interesting.
For me.
You're going to keep with your B+, Dylan? You happy with the B+?
I'm staying there. I'm staying with the B+.
Jesse?
I'm not quite as generous as you with that. I think you make some good points about the youth and the injury adversity. I personally I'm not saying you're wrong. I didn't even remember that people wrote them off at the start of the year because I personally never did. So for me, I think the expectation was to compete in finals and it is they got bloody close, but ultimately, when the chips were down, they failed to cross the finish line, not for the first time. So for me, I'm thinking C-. But you have made some compelling points about the excitement around Richards, Darcy, and their prospects going forward that made me think about it, but I'll stick with C-.
We've got a couple of comments here. So, Thomas, did you read that one already, Druzy? Thomas Addo?
No.
I think the tough thing with Dogs is the expectations were low, but that's because they have conditioned people to perceive them as less than the sum of their parts. See, I don't agree with that because I don't think some of their players this season, coming into the season, were rated that highly. Like Ed Richards was still seen as a breakout player. He was one of the highest rated players in the comp. I think actually Champion Data, Dogs had 3 or 4 of the top 5. Yeah,
wasn't it Richards,
Bond.
Darcy and Bond?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But I mean, Richards has done all of that. He's put that entire body of work together this season. He was just a prospect up until this year.
Yeah.
So I still think there's an expectation element that has to be considered there. Bombers Fly Up says Dale makes AA team in defence, but he's not a defender, is he? He's an offensive guy.
Yeah, him and Joe Hannison got exposed against Freo.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know they still have to defend at times, but probably you'd want to rely on other players other than Bailey Dale to do the majority of your defending.
Yeah, no, that's not what he's there for.
Yeah, he's winning 50 possessions in a game.
I think they more get exposed defensively by like their keys, like you said. Like I think Rory Lobb lost like a record of 1-on-1s in that game against Freo. That was crazy.
So satisfying.
Yeah, it would be
satisfying.
It would be. But also those guys like like Baker and Bramble. Like they make
Baker played good, man. He's a weird player that scares me.
Scared? He doesn't scare you.
I said it to Cookson.
He's never scared anyone.
He scares me, bro.
He does not. In what way?
Playing well against the Dockers. He played well against the Dockers.
Scary though.
And looked
like Cam Rayner. Cam Rayner scares you.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I think he could be a good player. I think from what I've seen him playing against Rio,
he's a role
weirdly
player.
pops up.
He's a role player.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's gonna be a well bit. I don't think, but yeah.
He scares you though.
Yeah, I said it to Cookson. I was like, he's just one of those weird players that could like pop up and just do something against us. Like,
I don't agree.
Is there any players in the AFL that you think like they're absolutely bang average, but when they play against your team, they look so much better?
I think that falls more into superstition though.
Who would it be for you? Did anyone come
you know what
Everybody plays well against
my
us.
brain went to Jason Davenport, who played for Port Adelaide in 2008. He'd like kick bags against West Coast and then do nothing for the rest of his career.
That's what in the past, it would have been for me one of those weird like medium forwards that just would bob up for another team. Like
it's always those mismatches.
Yeah,
I feel like
like they just kick 5 goals against you, kind of inexplicably.
Yeah, if you don't have like a good small defender, particularly back then, or a hybrid defender that can go with you in the air, like a Myercheck. Myercheck is a good established player, but he's an example of that type of player that could,
or like a Ben Brown, something like that. I reckon.
Yeah.
Who have we got next? Carlton. Oh.
Nah, Sydney.
Oh, Sydney. Oh.
There's a
can I make one more quick point on the Dogs?
Make it quick.
They've also had to handle in the background the Jamari Ugle-Hagen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, how distracting would that have been all year? Is he going to play footy again? Doesn't sound like it.
I don't think so. It doesn't sound likely.
Talent down the drain. I'm backing him to get back, but yeah.
It's crazy that they were still potent without Waitman and Jamara this year. Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Sam Darcy does for you.
Yeah.
Norton had a great sort of coming of age back end of the season.
Back end of the season for sure, yeah. He struggled a little bit when Darcy wasn't in the team, which is a slight red flag. But yeah, definitely. So Swans. I have given the Sydney Swans a D.
Yep. I'll go D with your deal.
You with me?
Yeah. Remember that the launch of the footy from the flat? Me and you were here. And we put a line through them on night 1, game 1. We said, Sydney don't look stacked. We're putting a line through them. They're not making finals.
Yep.
And that's why we're the best football pundits on YouTube.
That was another great week for the True Footy Instagram engagement.
It was a great week.
Yeah.
We got clipped up by True Bloods.
Bloods, yeah.
They were not very happy.
Were we wrong, Dylan?
We weren't wrong. But I think that's why it is such a disappointing season, because it feels particularly wasted this season for me with them. The fact that they've made that crossover with the coach. And like Dean Cock, he just seemed to make so many mistakes.
Just wanted to be the guy, I reckon, a bit too much. 2K time trial, do it again.
Yeah, it'd be really hard.
Tom McCartan, fall forward.
Yep.
What?
It's very
John. Josh Sheldrick fall forward if your best key defender's getting pulled out of there.
There's a lot of John Worsfold influence, I reckon, there with Dean Cox. Obviously, that was his coach, but yeah, Bush was that kind of coach as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. Everyone's liking the D there. Are you the same, Jesse?
Sorry?
Oh no!
Just hit him with a sorry. Bang! Got him.
Simple but devastating.
Oh, no. So good.
Oh, speaking of flat D, Sydney. Slow start due to injuries is my first dot point there. Look, I agree with the D element there. I will acknowledge that once they overcame their injuries, or at least stabilised them, they won 10 of their last 12, including a win against the Brisbane Lions.
10 of their last 12
Yeah.
games. Wow.
Yeah, they're ranked top 5 for clearance, so that stoppage game came back.
Can I say one thing quickly that we mentioned in those first episodes, Druzy?
Yep.
That Goulden is so integral to their system. And once they got him back, what Jesse's talking about now.
Ball movement just back.
Yep.
Yeah. 10 out of their last 12 is highly impressive.
Yeah, a win over the Lions at the Gabba, probably the crown jewel in those performances as well, and a scintillating win over West Coast at Optus Stadium. But look, I think what that speaks to for me is at least they've got their mojo back enough to give some faith going into next season. I think had they crashed out the other way, I'd be feeling a bit more negative about them. And for me, I still feel a sense of positivity for their future prospects. I expect them to play finals next year, but let's call it what it is. It's a results-based industry. They got they didn't really get close to playing finals, so they have to cop that. So they can't get a C.
That's
what
I was going to say. The difference between them and the Western Bulldogs was at least the Western Bulldogs were actually in that mix, whereas the Swans weren't. But yeah, you're right. Like good momentum going into the back end of the season, and I think. Not that this really plays into their season at all, but they're likely to pick somebody up in the trade market, given the club that they are. And then I think they can bounce again because I think they do have imbalance across.
Charlie Curnow aside, who could they bring in, Dill?
Jack Silvani.
Joe Danaher. I don't think that one's real, but
that's been rumoured.
Yeah, I think it's been pissed all over, to be honest.
I reckon Jack Silvani was saying Melbourne.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Actually,
the Swans, I think historically haven't been strong at recruiting star players to their team. Outside of the obvious Buddy Franklin,
they got Tippett.
Yeah, was that though not like? Was that it was a free agency move, wasn't it?
Yeah,
but I suppose that's relatively high profile.
That was high profile.
Yeah, was he a genuine A grader?
Not an A grader, but he was one of the best key forwards at the time.
And he was probably. This might come off wrong. He was close to like a Riley Thilthorpe level at the time that he went.
Maybe my memory's failing me there.
I don't think he was all Australian though.
Good.
Riley Thilthorpe's just had that epic season, but I feel like he was on the cusp of it. So go back to the end of last year, where everyone tipped this season that Thilthorpe would explode. I feel like that's where Kurt Tippett was.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah,
never reached the height at Sydney, but they have definitely lost a lot more star players than they have gained. The Swans.
Yeah. Cost of living crisis. They struggle to get people to Sydney. They used to have an extra larger salary cap back in the day.
It was
Cola.
Yeah.
I think it was after the Buddy Franklin deal that they
cost of living
allowance.
Yeah.
That was
that took me completely off.
I can tell by your face. You're like, I think I pulled that in nicely.
Did you not know about that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, right. A larger salary cap.
Yeah, because of the prices in Sydney. But I'm happy with my D. I'm happy with my D.
I'm glad to hear it. Can we get back to the show?
They got a lot more games into your Sheldricks, Warners.
Jack Buller as well. Played a few games. He looked handy against us. I didn't watch
outside
much
of
it.
like a Sam Wicks, though, I'm not sure how excited I am by that many of those younger players.
No, Sheldrick will take time to come on. I think you know what you're getting with Corey Warner. The list of Robbie Fox.
He is 32 and injury prone, I think.
Yeah.
He was a big part of their 2024 side.
You're right.
22? Do you mean?
No, last year.
Last year's grand final?
Yeah. I reckon he played most of his footy last year. I think he could be a good pickup if he can get his body right for any club, to be honest. I was shocked to see that. Because when we were talking about, they're not stacked anymore, and you don't know why. And then, so many Sydney fans were like, yeah, Robbie Fox is out.
Yeah, they did actually, yeah.
He gets delisted less than 8 months later.
I love how fans do that. Like, certain players turn into absolute gems while they're out of the side.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Carl Warner, bro. If we move on to Carlton.
We should.
Yeah.
This is great.
Who wants to take this?
I'll go A+, personally.
Yeah.
I thought their season was phenomenal. I got criticised heavily. I know you did as well, Dylan, for tipping Carlton to miss the finals. And they did. They stunk it up this year, Carlton. Probably more a systemic issue from the top. I think coming into the season and having their president sending out photos of his D.
Yeah, how would you assess their integrity?
That's a joke from an interaction I had today. But you just feel for Cripper that the club has just crumbled this year. And then someone like a Silvani that 2 years ago was a heart and soul player, Charlie Curnow, who has been one of the best forwards of this generation, also requesting a trade. Tom de Koning has all the tools to be one of the best rucks in the AFL. Gone. It has absolutely fallen down at Carlton. They've got no names playing every week. It's an F for me. Complete failure.
You're almost foaming at the mouth there.
Yeah, I'm fucking loving it.
Fired up.
Yeah. I don't know if it's an A plus or an F. I'm sort of loving it. But you suck.
I can't wait to get to West Coast then.
I must admit, there's a level of satisfaction when you tip a team like that to slide.
Well, I tipped Sydney and Carlton to miss finals.
It's huge.
I think I was bang on with Sydney, and Carlton I had finishing in 10th and they finished 11th.
Yeah, okay. I had Carlton 12th in the end. But the biggest question I still have about the Blues is Michael Voss. We still don't know if he's a good coach. How long has he been there now?
It wasn't 22, was it?
That was the year they made finals, and
that was 23.
Oh yeah, it was.
That was 23, but I don't remember when he started. Well, Teague feels like a while ago now. There wasn't anyone in between.
Must be at least 4 years.
Yeah.
Of Michael
I'd go
Voss.
with that. So,
and I still feel like we're absolutely none the wiser whether he is a good coach.
Yeah.
Because you've got the tactical element of it, and people say that he's not much of a tactician. I don't know if I necessarily buy into that overall, but I feel like this team, this group of players, was actually never built to win a premiership. I was just going to say, as much as they did have it, they made a prelim.
Yeah, they were almost. I was thinking it today. They almost won a flag in their head without winning a flag. It was like, we are finally in a premiership window. We got Cripper, Curnow, Wadering, the spine's there.
I was going to say, look at the spine.
Flaggers. Yeah, Walsh. Best spine in the AFL. Fuck off. The only guy at the club who can hit a target being injured all year wasn't ideal. I think he's referring to Boyd.
Newman.
Oh, and Newman.
Newman. Yeah. Wait, what was it?
Yeah, no.
The only guy Tom Sato.
That was Newman. Another player that's turned into prime Andrew McLeod since he's been out of the team. He's a decent player.
Yeah.
Nick Newman. He's not a superstar.
Mm-hmm. Did he win their BNF, or was he top 2 in their BNF last year? It might have been Cripper.
I can't remember.
Cripper would have had to have.
Yeah, I think Newman was second, and he was All-Australian squad last year. Nick Newman.
Yeah, he's probably been around the mark.
But you have Nick Newman in that side this year. How many more games do they win?
I don't know, but I wouldn't have thought significantly more. They lack leg speed. They lack athleticism overall. They lack ball use. Yeah. It's almost like we talked about the Dogs and how simple it is to fix what they needed, which is key position defenders, defensive stability. I don't know where to even start with Carlton.
Yeah. It's like you plug a hole up here and then one comes out from down here. Oh, there's a lot of action on the table.
Made a lot of contact.
Like you look at that half forward line. It's like, who's your Freo man? Murphy Reid. Who's unlocking your Curnows and your Mackays?
Yeah.
Who's moving the ball from halfback? Nick Newman's been out. Jordan Boyd. Is it Jordan Boyd on their list?
Yep.
He played a good role for him last year. But yeah, you get 5 injuries at Carlton and you're like, VFL.
Yeah.
As you said, the contest heavy, stoppage focused, ball movement got great, not a lot of hurt factor. And I think they have I think over this period, they've had the talent to push a lot harder than they have. I suppose the game style itself is probably a little bit outdated, maybe. I mean, the transition game's not great and probably reliant on too few and not a lot of great role players. That being said, Matthew always kicked 38 goals or something for him last year, so that was something he did right. I'd say the tone of their entire season was set in round 1 against the Richmond Footy Club. You live streamed that, right?
No, I was out in Fitzroy that night.
Where? Yeah. For some reason, I think you just reacted to it. I remember editing the video. Anyway, that really was a microcosm of their season. Just tease and ultimately fail.
Yep.
Have we all said F?
I think so. There's a couple of comments here. Hade Shade says, does the head coach need to be a tactician? Can't you get a tactical assistant and have the head be player relations focused? It's a good point. Like it's a good conversation, and I don't know the answer to that question. Like how is it best? I think overall you probably want your head coach to be that PR sort of guy and probably be a really good tactician as well. I think that's kind of their bread and butter, right?
Well, Chris Scott's got to be the best coach and is the master tactician, right?
Yeah, I think you would prefer the tactician to be the guy that is giving it to the players, and not just all behind the scenes with other coaches.
Yeah,
isn't Fagan famously not a tactician? Though?
Yeah.
So it can. There's more than one way to skin a lion.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. No, but I think that's an interesting conversation around what's the better mix. I mean, famously, like even Alex Ferguson in the Premier League obviously wasn't like necessarily known as like an amazing tactician. Like he was more of a...
I thought he was like more tactical.
He was. He like, again, it's a balance, right?
Because he didn't like coach the players during training. I'm pretty sure he just like stayed in his office and was just like tactics.
Tactics guy.
But very, very player related. Like his relationship with the players was
Tactics.
Yeah.
Tactics.
I felt like he was more of a man manager, motivator primarily, but obviously there's a balance to strike.
Overall, Carlton, terrible year. Having some of their key players wanting to leave the club tells you where the culture's at. And we don't have an answer on... Well, we do. I think we have an answer on Voss. I think his days are numbered.
Yeah, right. They're
going to review it, aren't they, in the next little bit?
I actually don't. I haven't seen that.
No, I haven't seen that either.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw something a few
I thought they
weeks
backed
ago.
him in. I think they backed him in.
They backed him in?
Yeah, I'm thinking
That's what I
they
thought.
have backed him in. Yeah.
Would not be surprised to see him sacked in the next one.
Yeah, I mean,
it's possible, yeah.
It's a pretty passionate and vocal fan base. I think the pressure ramps up at Carlton to a greater extent than a lot of clubs, given of who they are. Their immediate prospects don't look great. Obviously, we've talked a little bit about their off-season. We'll continue to maybe a little bit later, but they're a little bit, and I know this is an unflattering comparison, but they remind me a little bit of West Coast towards the back end of our window, where there's a few decent young role players coming through and some aging stars. I am not at all suggesting it's going to go the same way as West Coast.
You don't want to be compared to them, though.
No, but I just mean they're just on that wrong end of it where, okay, their top draft pick, Jagger Smith, hasn't played a game, so maybe it's not as bad as it looks, but that is going to be a concern for the Carlton Footy Club, and it's just a real crossroads point for them.
Liam Reedy and Jack Petrocelli to come in and plug the holes. Jeez. They're just not a destination anymore.
They should be.
They can fluctuate into being that, but you're right, they're not right now.
The draft. I was just going to talk about the draft quickly with them. I mean, they've got Dean
and Walker,
Harry Dean. The thing is with Walker, they might be not able to select him now.
Yeah.
With the changes to the father son, so they're looking at opening up.
They're just going to have to finish bottom four.
Yeah,
it's the only way out of this.
If they finish bottom four, they'll be able to get him. But they're thinking about making the top 5 of the draft, or maybe the top 10 completely
father son free.
Yeah, or academy free. So basically, everybody's fair game if you select them in the top 10.
I don't like that.
You don't?
Nah, I'd prefer if you've made a player the person that they are, let them go there. Father son, let it happen. I know you get the Ashcroft brothers that come through, but it's a good part of our sport, I reckon.
I'm not a fan personally. I just think it's too random.
But if your club is set up well, it's like, well done, you've developed this player. Here's the reward. You know what I mean?
In father sons though.
Hey,
father sons.
No, academies.
Well, yeah. I think it's important for the Northern Academies. I guess the question is how much that, being that it's the top 5. Say they did the top 5. You can still get everybody else, just not the top 5 players.
Yeah, but you'd be fuming if you were Collingwood and it was Nick Dacos.
They would just start playing funny buggers, I reckon, with these prospects.
Yeah.
Dacos would have done a major hamstring in round 5 of his draft year.
Yeah.
I'm being facetious, but
I don't know this. There's Will Darcy, who is Sam Darcy's brother, is in his draft year right now.
Oh yeah.
And he's been a little bit like that. He played 1 game for the Oakley Chargers earlier in the year, and other than that, he's pretty much just played school footy. I feel like there's an element with that they're trying to hide him a little bit. I don't know that, so it's completely.
Was you saying St Kilda were doing that a bit with? Was it Philippou?
Nah.
It might have been DOS.
There's Owens and Windhager would be the two that come to mind.
They were their NGAs.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago.
There we go. Carlton. See you later.
Speaking of St Kilda, let's go with the Saints next.
I've given the Saints, and this might sound a little bit crazy for their finishing position, but I've given them an A.
You can tell we had different philosophies on this because I did not give them an A. Actually, I didn't write down a letter, but I'll let you speak to that.
I feel this season overall, with some of that goings on and the happenings for the Saints, has probably been their best season since they made the grand final, 2010.
Well, they played finals and won a final in 2020.
Yeah, but this is better than that. This period of time right now.
Really?
Keeping Nasai Wangadeen-Miller,
Yeah.
absolutely massive. Then going on and signing Tom de Koning. They're apparently up to their necks in Sam Flanders. Lika Lear.
Quite the image.
They're right in the mix for. Yeah, potentially Silvani as well.
Liam Ryan and Cam McKenzie were other names.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah, they were. Well, he was an NGA for the Saints.
Yes.
Yeah, McKenzie. Yes, where was I going with that? I think when you consider those things and you just consider that, like that general excitement combined with the young players that they've been able to get games into this season as well, like Tyroos looked absolutely awesome. Darcy Wilson, that last game with Darcy Wilson, I almost think he was emblematic of this little shift in the club, the excitement when he kicked those 5 goals in the last round of the season after a pretty poor year, to be fair.
Great word, emblematic.
Yeah, and if you look at like Max King will come back if he can get his body right. I think that's going to be a massive one as well. And then those tools that they're going to trade for, it means that there's not going to be as much reliance on someone like a Mitch Owens to be a key target in the forward half of the ground, which he has been. So I think exciting times for the Saints. Big fan.
The problem I have with that is just everything you mentioned there had nothing to do with how they played this year.
I was going to also say something similar.
It's a fair call.
It's like they've had the best season of club on field. Irrelevant. Because it's like they've set up so well.
Yes.
It feels that way.
But I've taken that into consideration. So I think the goodwill around the club feels good.
Yeah, no, it feels like they have improved as a football club overall this year. Maybe not on field. I see what you're saying. But yeah, these additions, they do take time to gel though. That's the thing as well. It's not like the Koning, they all come in and it's like they all glue, bang. They're right back up there. But you add some of these guys to, Taru and Wilkie down back. You're bringing in like a Lee Kalir or a Silvani.
Philippou's basically a new signing for next season too.
Yeah, that's true. As is Max King, really.
Yeah. But they've got talent in that team now. And if they continue to add to it, I think they're well set. But I hear what you're saying with the performance. I would give them a B-.
I would give them a C-. I actually think they could have performed. Maybe I'll go C. What saves them is the games they got into their talented youth, which I rate.
Yep.
Taru, Travalia, not Philippou, Garcia is good. Darcy Wilson, Mitch Owens, Hugh Boxall. We can name more. I just think they do have a good young group there, but I don't think they performed particularly well this season. And also, a lot of those names have not actually joined the club yet.
Yes.
So Nazire is huge.
TDK's...
It's pretty big. It doesn't save this season for me.
Yeah, okay.
And Nazire signed a 2-year extension, which to me is, it's not like he signed a 6-year deal and really committed his future to the club. It's like saying West Coast had a good year because of Harley Reid.
Good rebuttals.
You know what I mean? So that's why I'll go a little bit harder on them, but I also rate them. And that actually, it's kind of like inversely, I'm giving them a compliment because I thought, look at their last 5 weeks, like there's a lot of optimism around how they played, but the best performance they had in their last 5 weeks was the loss against the Giants.
Yeah,
there's like a 2-point win against Essendon. There's a 4-point win against Richmond, a narrow win over St Kilda. I suppose the last quarter against Melbourne, but they were 8 goals down at the 3/4 time.
And they lost to West Coast. That's fucking terrible.
That's a great call.
That's really bad.
Their last 10 weeks would have been significantly better than their first, I imagine.
It was.
They beat Freo as well, which is quite impressive.
That's true, yeah. After the bye, they were ranked number 4 in the AFL for intercept to score and number 1 from halfback to score. It conceded its most ever points for, I think, under Ross Lyon, 89.7, and the most ever points from clearance against in his tenure.
Jack Sinclair was massive at the start of the year as well, wasn't he, with that back half to front half.
He's still a seriously good player. It's not surprising that that's kind of where their weaponry is, right? Like that's where their scoring comes from, that back half of the ground, given their weakness in the midfield. Like I wasn't, Probably one thing that I don't necessarily knock them for this because I think it gave them some stability, but like I wasn't big on them signing like a Jack McRae who just feels like a little bit of a nothing player.
Yeah, you did say that. You did die on that hill.
It's going on
in
Instagram.
The year.
He wasn't good though.
Early days, he was.
He had some okay games.
Yeah, but he's a short-term fix.
Yeah, and he's too similar to Jack Steele. So I feel like it's one or the other.
They need to figure that out, don't they? I feel like once they get that mix right in the middle, top 4 bound.
Yeah.
But I think overall, you've both summarised it well. I feel like outside of all the teams that have missed finals this year, the upside that has been revealed for St Kilda is probably as great as any team outside of the top.
And
8.
Shifty makes a good point. That Melbourne comeback, pure cinema, that has to go into the 2025 season, right? That moment. To give your fans that moment.
Yeah.
I suppose, yeah. I actually don't mind that.
The top out of any team in the outside the top 8.
What happens with Marshall?
Oh, we got a trade segment.
We've got a trade segment. We'll talk about that.
Yeah,
Trade segment.
Yeah.
I'll think of an answer. Who's next?
Port Adelaide. I actually think we will possibly differ on this. Maybe not. Do you want us to wait for you, Drews? No, okay. Cool.
I gave Port
Leave the door
Adelaide.
open so you can hear us.
Oh, dear. I gave Port Adelaide a D.
Yeah, you did.
Again, this one's tricky. The on-field performance wasn't good. I feel like from that perspective, I feel like Jason Horne-Francis didn't have the year that I expected from him. I think there was sort of a lack of continuity and stuff like that as well. I've just got to go for a second.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm just... everything's okay here at True Footy Enterprises. I'm just going to get to the chat here. Porter in pure rebuild mode with their delistings. That's true. They had a pretty aggressive little period there with delistings. I saw that, a number of outs. And we obviously saw the surprise retirement of Willie Rioli and the not-so-surprising retirement of Travis Boak. Look, it's hard to really get a feel for what to have expected from Port Adelaide this year when you consider they did have some key injuries and the loss of Dan Houston shouldn't be ignored, considering he was such a key playmaker for them. They missed Butters early, Lukosius, Sam Powell-Pepper, Horne-Francis missed some footy. On the plus side, Miles Bergman, that was a great value add, I suppose is the word. I keep using that word. But for Miles Bergman to play well this year and sign that extension with them is really promising. But again, we're out talking about a team that finished second last year. And funnily enough, they were actually still rated in the top 6 for pressure rating for the 4th year in a row. So their ability to show some intensity is still quite strong. What are we saying in the chat? Lazarus says, Port don't rebuild though. Their fan base doesn't have the patience for it. They're in for a few rough seasons coming up with a lack of draft picks. Yeah, it feels like they're in a weird space. I mean, like last year, as the boys ran to the conversation I've been having with myself.
How are you going?
You're good?
All good.
All
just
good.
a bit of a sick pet at the moment.
Yeah.
So just dealing with that.
Yeah.
Port Adelaide.
Yes, yeah. I was just sort of giving the lowdown on their season, and someone said they don't really do rebuilds. I suppose they are a team that's kind of tried to transition their list over time without really hitting the draft since maybe it was like 2018. Remember they took 3 first rounders, Rosie, Butters and Dersma.
Yes.
But since then, I mean, like last year, trading in Rory Atkins, admittedly he was just steak knives in that deal.
But you do go, why?
Yeah.
Why do you do that? North Melbourne do stuff like that all the time. And you're like, why? I can't figure this out. Like, I can't see why you would get him over another young player just to have a look at, right? When they've got some decent experience. They're a very imbalanced team to me. Like, again, like we talked about, teams with just all their talent focused in the midfield. And then pretty poor players behind the ball. Let's be honest. Now Dan Houston's gone out. That's another defender down. And then they had I think like club wise, the decision to obviously with the succession
Coach
plan,
handover,
like must have had a pretty significant effect on their season overall.
Yeah, absolutely. Albeit it probably gained them a win as well in that last game against the Gold Coast Suns. What are we feeling? about Port Adelaide. I mean, I think they definitely have some structural doubts. What were they? I got another stat here. The Power ranks 17th for ground ball gets inside forward 50 this season.
Yeah, no small forwards.
Yeah,
absolutely no small forwards.
Yeah, and that only gets exacerbated by Junior Rioli.
Yeah,
leaving the club.
No Sam Powell-Pepper. Like what happened?
Yeah, he got injured.
Okay.
Yeah, they did draft Joe Berry, which will help with that in the long term.
And Joe Richards was also a decent
bit of a disappointing year, didn't he? We both chose him for the rising star, and
he was a bit of a letdown. I mean, I feel tough going in on players like that in their first season.
Yeah, we'll let him cook.
And it's a difficult role.
Moraes looked pretty good in parts, I thought.
Yeah, Moraes has had some good moments, and they did debut Jack Whitlock late as well.
Right.
And
Georgiades was a big positive from
big positive.
Yeah,
Good
almost
call.
went the whole review without mentioning him. Is probably the biggest positive this season, I would have thought.
Yeah,
It was a D for me.
Yeah, I think so too. I actually expected you to go more lenient because you don't rate Port.
yeah. I was going to touch on that actually, but I think when you look at when you add in the future element and the fact that I can't see them really bouncing back up again. I don't know where they're at. And those things like the Rory Atkins thing, I think are significant there too, with like what exactly are they doing?
Yeah.
The Luke Kosher signing didn't really add much as well.
How many games did he play?
I think he got injured.
Yeah.
But like,
I don't know how many played.
was it Atkins that they brought in as well? Rory
Yeah,
that's what
Atkins,
Jesse was saying.
like, yeah, just their off-season stuff didn't really contribute at all.
There's been a bit of a trend of that Hinkley period of them taking a lot of, maybe not rejects, but players from other clubs.
Finlayson.
Yeah, I mean, Finlayson might be one of the more successful ones, but like...
They just delisted him, didn't they?
There was like Jack Trengove, Quinton Narkle, Jimmy Tompus. There's more. I'm sure the chat could probably help us out with a few. I'm not necessarily criticising it, but it's just like the thing that they did. They rolled the dice on some like players that didn't make it at their clubs. But then again, you look at the Geelong model and would Jack Martin be playing well in at any other club? Probably not.
Yeah. I know what you mean, though. It's like picking players who it'd be such a gamble if it actually paid off. You know what I mean? It'd be kind of just a flip of the coin, really.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but low cost, I suppose.
Yes. We go on chat, or are we skipping through to Melbourne? Have we touched? You've done most of those.
I don't know if I have
Port
gone with
overperformed last year, finishing second. Yeah, what a fall from grace.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Not that they were at grace, but what a fall.
Yeah.
They really weren't the second best team last year, were they? Like,
No, they never have been. They've been minor premiers, been up there, and now they're nowhere. Their premiership window has been shut down the toilet.
purgatory, I think they call it.
I thought they were good
like
last
everywhere
year.
but nowhere type thing.
Yeah,
Purgatory?
isn't it actually the area sort of like it's not heaven or hell
Yeah, that's right.
in a biblical sense?
Yeah. I think they were good last year. I wouldn't say they were in the top two teams of the competition. I think
That's all I mean, though.
Geelong, Brisbane, Sydney were
Yeah.
better, but they also beat Sydney by like 20 goals last year.
As a Port fan, you'd be filthy that you didn't make finals and the Crows finished top.
Oh, yeah, it would be a horrendous season.
Hurts
Yeah.
more.
Welcome to my life.
Maybe we should have given them an F. Nah, it's fine. All right, Melbourne, Druzy.
Yeah. Because you're a little bit D's nuts, aren't you?
I am a bit D's nuts. We were talking... I don't know. No, we were talking after the power rankings about how many games they've lost by a close margin. And it... You know... I have been D's nuts in the past. Still,
Here we
and
go.
You've pulled me up on it a lot. But I'm actually coming around to you a bit now because how many times can you be almost close to winning when you just go, you're just a bit shit?
Yeah, there's a pattern.
There is. See, I look at it half glass full and I go, they've almost beaten so many teams. If you go back through their fixtures, they've had like the closest. How many wins did they get this season?
I think it was 7. Yeah, 7 wins, 14th position.
Me and Jesse went through their fixtures the other night and it was just like close loss, close loss, close loss. But they haven't fixed the issues that have been there that cost them probably another premiership in like 22.
The thing is with that competitiveness that you talk about, though, like when you've got Gawn, Petrarca, Oliver, Viney, May, Lever, like you should be competitive.
Yeah.
I think that's why this season for me is particularly disappointing because they kept all of those guys, even when the writing was on the wall at the end of last year, that it was going to, like, I think it was clear that was going to hurt their culture with Oliver and Petrarca.
Yeah.
And they were so adamant that they wanted to keep this team together and not start to make some moves just to bring some fresh air into the club, I think.
Yeah, I would have liked to see a bit more of an evolution with their midfield this year. They stuck fat with that.
Yeah.
I would have liked... I haven't watched all that much Melbourne, but like I would have loved to see a midfield of like Trent Rivers, Judd McVee, and like a Cozzy. I don't know if that balances out well, but like
at least at times.
Yeah. Petrarca's shown such a good ability to play at half forward or deep forward. And yeah, like we're going to get into trade soon, but like a big reason why Judd McVee apparently wants to leave is because he's not getting enough midfield minutes. Clary looks a shell of himself. As much as he's been a champion of the game, he's had his personal, battles or whatever. There was times this year where he would break out of a pack and like shit himself on the ball and just like chuck it on the boot.
Horrible affliction.
Spray disposals. What was that?
I said it was a horrible affliction.
I don't know what that means.
Illness, basically.
Right.
He shat himself every time we got the ball.
Right. I see. That's funny. Max Gawn equals the most All-Australians ever. I was saying to Jesse before, he's the most Australian if he wins another All-Australian Blazer.
Give him 2 passports.
Yep. I don't get that part either.
Most Australian.
Anyway, we're trying to make too many jokes here.
Glizzy Hands here, though, says Melbourne have a lot of problems, but Harvey Langford is good. I think they will be okay. And I think like that is a positive. I think on your point, though, Drews, and something I talked about through the season, it would have been nice to see them get a bit more exposure. Langford did towards the end, to be fair.
Yeah.
But that was probably mostly after Goodwin left.
He looked like their best mid, to be honest. He did. Year. Him and Cozzy.
He actually did, yeah. And Cozzy's brilliant, of course. But yeah, Rivers, you mentioned, like get a bit of time into those guys. And actually, they could have used this season as a real development season.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's particularly bad as a mark.
I didn't even mention Langford in that midfield mix earlier on. Another big positive was Turner down back.
Yeah, Turner was brilliant.
Yeah, found his way to play. But yeah, I feel like Goodwin was adamant that they're not far from a flag, and maybe they bring Buckley in, but similar to like a Carlton and Port Adelaide, I just think there's too many players in this side that they need to clear out before they're contending again.
I think I 100% agree. I think they can bounce really quickly because of that youth that has come through. But I think teams that historically have bounced really quickly and had like a coaching change, they need to make those subtle changes. Mm-hmm. They need to make the outgoings.
Yeah.
And I think like when Goodwin was saying that, like, that's what Goodwin should have done. He trusted those guys too much, is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Too nice. But like Jack Viney was one of their best players last year and just like fell off a cliff this year. Clayton Oliver has been their best player for so
honestly
long.
Though, the Jack Viney one, like that was so obviously going to happen. It was just so obvious. Like contract, he wanted an extra contract. They extended it, said he was keen to go to North. They paid him more money and then he just falls off. Like who didn't see that coming?
Yeah, but like another like Bailey Fritsch, been such a good player for them for a long time. Just looked a shell of himself. Melksham was probably their best forward.
Yeah, he was.
But yeah, there's just too many players that I don't know. Just looking a bit jaded, I would say. I will give them a D+.
D+.
D's plus.
Had to have a little plus in there.
They had issues at both ends of the ground. Like this was the leakiest they've ever looked. Admittedly, Main Lever just played the 23 games between them, and they've never been a great side with their mid-forward connection and their forward 50 efficiency. But that was also their worst since 2016 this year. So there's a lot going wrong there. However, I did notice that for the first 9 rounds of the season, they were 16th for score per inside 50. After round 10, they climbed to 4th, which I wouldn't have picked, given the outside of Cozzy Pickett, the lack of star power in that forward line.
There were absolutely under Goodwin. There were changes going on for sure, but it felt like why didn't that just happen from the beginning of the season? Like why did it take until round 10 or 11 or whatever it was, which was I don't know, just a waste of time for me.
One thing I think that kind of works for them has been their investment in the draft over the last few years. Particularly last year, they traded they traded with Essendon to get 2 top 10 picks. So Xavier Lindsay is another top prospect that they haven't, we've seen a lot more of Langford by comparison, but he's still there. So it's not as though this team loaded up for the here and now. They've got some stars at the end of their career, but they have at least been hitting the draft. So for me, like finishing low isn't great, but they also don't hold their first round draft pick this year. So I've actually talked myself out of that point. Yeah, that was a terrible point now I think about it, because if you obviously bank on yourself to do well if you don't have a first round draft pick, but there is ways around that they can trade back in. Do you think
those things are like you said, that comes into the grading as well?
Yeah, I think it implies it.
It means that they backed themselves.
Yeah.
And that when we come to another team that I support, that might come into their grading as well.
I think there's a lot of positives there for Melbourne, but as we've discussed, they should have revolutionised or evolved more as a team this year.
On the run,
and they haven't. So
I mean, they're sacked their coach, so like, who's giving them a passing grade? I'd say D without being an F.
I'm a D.
Yeah.
Where are the E's at? You ever think of that when you're doing?
Well, we're up to one
grades?
now. We've got Essendon.
Good.
That's great.
We just finished the D's.
Did you know I found Essendon, of all of the teams, probably the most difficult to rate?
Yeah, 100%.
Essendon?
It's almost like impossible. You almost give them a mulligan.
My perception of Essendon this year is I feel like it's the first time that they've said, you know what, we're a bit shit and we're rebuilding. And we've been ravaged by injuries.
They finally admitted it.
But we are rebuilding. And for me, that is positive overall.
The rebuild thing, though, can be just more of a PR thing because it's not something you want to admit to your supporters. Like West Coast also got criticised for not using the word rebuild. We said reset, and everyone's like, come on, guys. But I think it's also like you don't want to not sell tickets.
Reset.
Yeah.
Is that when you get pumped for 4 years in a row?
Yeah, it's just a
But
little
that's
reset.
kind of, I guess, like looking at that, like linguistically, that's probably what Melbourne should have done. What we're saying, like the reset.
Yeah.
If you're kind of distinguishing, but
That's what Collingwood did, but
semantics.
it really was just 1 year. So
Yeah.
look, I think the thing is, I forgot Essendon won 6 of their first 10 this year.
I know. Because
I'd forgotten that.
their ladder position strangely wasn't terrible, was it? Did they end up falling into the bottom four?
Yeah,
They did. Okay.
Yeah.
But they were getting beaten by 10 plus goals every week in the last 6 or 7 rounds of the season.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
It's a good year to lose Sam Draper as well, if he's banned one compensation.
Yes.
Because obviously that's tied to their ladder position. So if they're going to fall down 1 year, do it this year and hold 3 top 10 picks.
They've also got the NGAs to come through.
Yeah.
On their season, I find the reason that I said off the top that I find it so difficult is because they've played a lot of young players and got experience and had a look at these guys. They didn't really have a choice about that on some level, did they?
Yeah.
I was at first I thought I'd criticise them for almost rebuilding too much because I think it's almost a little bit too extreme. It reminds me a little bit of North Melbourne at some point there when our disaster started. I'm like, if you start losing games or treating games like they're nothing, this could descend into chaos and this could be the start of a really long process. But
That's a good point.
probably the freebie I give Essendon there is that it wasn't entirely their fault, just the amount of ridiculous injuries that they
absolutely. Yeah.
got. That being said, you can't call this a good year.
No, you wouldn't want to have this year over and over again, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Look, there were some positives though. Archie Roberts was one of their promising talents. Nate Caddy, Isaac Kako, Angus Clark showed signs. Zach Reed finally got his body right. I think he got injured again, if I'm not mistaken, but he showed that he's got some talent and sort of somewhat justified the top 10 pick in a weak year.
Kako, another one in there.
Alternatively, we've also seen some former first-round midfielders stagnate, and that's Sardis and Hobbs. So, look, they're learning about their list.
Perkins.
But yeah.
I mean, he'd probably already stagnated.
Yeah. So like they still have work to do in terms of like adding that top-end talent that they'd hope that Nick Cox and Archie Perkins and Elijah Sardis would be. And it's probably still too early to write any of these guys off, but that's probably where their focus lies for me. I think they've got a good depth of decent talent. But it's really about those difference makers that I think when you're looking at a long-term build here for Essendon, that's probably what they need to add.
I do feel like they might have to get a little bit ruthless, though, this off-season. Particularly, I mean, they're going to have to anyway, naturally, because they have so many players on their list and they'll have to cut some of those guys. But, yeah, I'd be looking in that mids. Someone like a Sardis, I think he's too closely removed from his draft year, but players like Perkins and Hobbs, maybe to a lesser extent, Cox, who's had the concussions as well. Like I don't know, like how much longer can you hold those guys for until they show something?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I mean, I guess when it comes to grading Essendon, I feel like you can only give them. My personal opinion is like C.
I gave them a C.
Yeah,
That's exactly what
it's too harsh to say D, and you sure as hell couldn't give them a B.
It feels weird because a C is technically a pass. So, like Lewis has just put there, Essendon will become a C- with injuries, but have great picks. So, probably don't disagree
I see
with that.
C as like content, and I think if you get a C+, it's positive. So I think C- is a good shout from Lewis.
Yeah.
Loved watching Gus Clark play. I think they've got a genuine player there.
Yeah.
If they can keep their pieces on the park, like Nick Martin, what a player they've got there.
Yep.
Merritt, Jet. Caddy will be one of the best forwards in the competition.
Durham's a good player.
Not too long. Durham. Their back six when Mackay and Reid was in. Andy McGrath, I thought, had a good year, stepped up.
Yeah, he was decent.
But can they stay fit? And their depth gets tested. Their depth got tested more than anyone this year. C- for me.
C-. I think we all sort of roughly agree there. North Melbourne. North Melbourne, my boys.
Do you want to lead this one, being a North man? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think people, it's probably fairly fair. Yeah, this would be fun. So when...
Should go for a pint.
We're still human. When you trade away your future first round pick, and you kind of spin it as this big thing of where, we're letting all of this past go behind us now. It's water under the bridge. Now we're looking forward. So we're trying to communicate to the entire club, the fan base, that we're pushing up the ladder. We're going to try and get some wins. 7, 8, 9 wins was the thing that was quoted. We got 5.5. I think we're still just as shit in most areas as we were in the last 3 to 4 years. The only area that we've drastically improved is from stoppage, which is probably the last place I'd want to improve, if I'm honest.
The last?
Yeah, from stoppage. It's not a big score area anyway. I think it keeps us in games at times when Tristan Sherry's up and firing. But our, moving the ball from the back half and stuff like that isn't good enough. I mean, the first place to start with where we are not good enough is we just don't have a defensive bone in the club's body. It's unbelievable to watch sometimes how easy teams just transition the ball, get in behind. It's like watching a under 16s team play an under 18s team, and they just walk the ball out.
You can really feel the difference in tone when you're a fan, because we're getting real scathing about North Melbourne, whereas we've been pretty respectful about everyone else.
Yeah, Caleb Daniels done well though, Dylan.
Yeah, he's been good. Yeah. He's been great.
Essentially traded for pick 3 or 2. Sorry,
that
is
walked,
he actually basically was, because it was 25, which we then traded 28.
Matt always looking pretty good.
We traded 4, pick 28. Sorry. Lewis says North Melbourne D+, but only because they gave Richmond their first round pick. Yeah, well, that's even worse, isn't it? For me, I assume you're a Richmond fan. I've given them a straight F.
North really need a curtain, blind shutters and awnings.
But talk to me, guys, because I don't know. I don't know how this is seen from the outside. I feel like opposition fans, because we're a pretty non-threatening club, people kind of go, they'll be all right. They'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, you go.
No, you go.
Thanks, man. I think that my stance has been that North Melbourne's internal, yes, this is going to be the year we're going to make a big stride, was always really ambitious. So I kind of don't think that North has really undershot what I expected from them this year, and there has been genuine linear improvement.
Has it?
5.5 wins versus 3 last year.
Okay.
So it's simplistic. You can't just go off wins, but they put a team to the sword by 50 points this year in the Melbourne Footy Club, and they beat Richmond twice, whereas I feel like in previous years North were still questionable against a West Coast. You know what I mean? And they beat West Coast, albeit that was a shocking game.
As well.
Drew to Brisbane's a great example. And I feel like there were some closer losses in there as well. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I feel like...
Yeah,
that Carlton win was sick.
Yeah, big Carlton.
That was satisfying.
So you haven't had a win like that in a while.
No, that's true. Yeah. That's true. And I think the last 6 to 7 weeks were really poor, which... we had the Richmond win in there, but that didn't feel particularly good. That's probably in my head. So the memories there, the recency bias of the losses, you're 100% right. And I've said a few times that even just going through North Melbourne's stats, there's things that have changed. We're kind of coming up the table a little bit on some sort of markers.
Yeah.
But we're not defensively.
Yeah, so 17th for scores per inside 50s against, 16th for points against from turnover, and 15th for defending ball movement, just to support what you said there.
Yeah.
So that's also a full ground thing, but also probably the actual defenders.
I pretty much agree with what Jesse said. It's going to be a very gradual rise for North Melbourne. The big stride is, as you said, they're still so young. There's still so many holes in this team.
Felt a little bit more like manifesting a big jump this year than actually thinking it should happen, just because they were still one of the younger sides in the competition.
Do you think then that's a big mistake to trade that pick?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I did think it was a big mistake.
I don't know who that was.
Yeah.
But Yeah.
Somebody made that decision.
You're right. And it's also like they're also eyeing Gold Coast pick 6, which we'll talk about later. So doesn't that just like grate you as a fan? It's like we traded.
It's a kick in the guts.
It's a kick in the guts, yeah.
That sucks. What did you make of the additions? So obviously Caleb Daniel, just a head shaker.
Just
as a
horrendous.
North. Yeah.
Just like it's one of the worst trades of all time, I reckon.
Yeah, be up there.
Yeah, he's just completely ill-equipped to play that position.
Not going to get you anywhere.
Not going to get you anywhere.
And you've lost the top prospect.
Yeah, no, it's just
You
shocking.
just pat him on the back for me.
It's bad. I reckon even if like those trades we talk about, like Mitch Duncan, where you get the player for relatively nothing.
Yeah.
Like I still wouldn't be happy with it.
Yeah.
Like
There's some passion in this one.
yeah.
Well, positives.
Luke Parker.
Parker good. Charlie Comben came out as like a very genuine key defender this year. Colby McKercher, I thought arose as one of your
second
more
half of
important
this
players.
season. Yeah,
LDU, extremely disappointing, I thought.
extremely.
Signed the contract and then just lost that motivation to be a
Didn't want to
genuine
cleanly
gun.
pick up the ball anymore.
Who else did we like?
Curtis.
Paul Curtis. Yeah.
And Sherry.
Yes, yeah. Sherry did his job perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So positives.
One more positive. Cooper Trembath.
Oh, yeah.
Never heard of him.
Mid-season this year?
Mid-season this year, a
finished
late
twice.
mid-season pick, and he averaged over 3 goals a game
Did he
in the
really?
last 4 games of the season.
Whoa.
Yeah,
I remember 2 bags of 3 or something like that.
maybe I'm adding a little extra onto that. Maybe
Give
it
it
was
a
3.
mate.
It was at least 3 games.
Ah, no one's going to look it up.
Somebody let me know in there. Thomas Atto said definitely the best of the 3 dog shit teams, but still dog shit. That is so true. That is a perfect.
I would actually say Richmond had a better year, to be honest.
They had a better year, but we still beat them.
Oh, you beat them twice.
I don't know. Yeah, I suppose maybe Richmond did, but
If you were an
we'll get to
opposition
Richmond.
team, who would you have wanted to play the least of the dog shit teams?
What, like, who would I be most
Richmond.
scared of?
Yeah,
yeah, Richmond.
and don't say Lockie Brown
No,
or Oscar Baker.
I would say, I would say West Coast because it's derbies.
Oh, yeah, that's
As a
the
Freo fan, all right.
You
let's say
can't say West Coast. They won 1 game.
Yeah.
no, but like, yeah, derbies is just something like they beat us last year. So
Yeah.
like,
That was funny.
Yeah.
let's say I'm a Sydney fan. I would probably at least want to play North. Yeah.
Yeah. I think most teams would say that currently.
I don't know.
Really?
Well, I mean, it's tinged with my West Coast perspective, and like we kind of controlled the game against North, and we didn't.
That's head to head, though.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, that was just.
That was the
Yeah.
worst game of the year by a
Oh, that
fucking
was
mile.
horrendous.
But Richmond also beat the Suns.
Richmond had a good year, but I mean, I just mean right now, like who is a better team?
Yeah, North Melbourne are better.
Yeah, I mean they beat Richmond
Oh.
twice. Yeah, it depends how you frame the question.
Yeah, it's like which team in 2025 was better at getting results?
Yeah,
North Melbourne.
close.
Richmond overperformed their expectation
Yeah.
better.
Who would I
than
rather
Richmond.
be? Richmond.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. North Melbourne. Well done.
What
Not
are we
really.
grading them?
I gave them a F.
Wow, improved.
More wins.
Almost doubled their premiership points, and they
That's
get an
it.
F.
Yeah,
F for I'm a fan.
Man.
So you're going to say something else then. I think North Melbourne are a C.
That's too high.
I think if you improve your premiership points by a factor of 2, that's a C. I think had they reached their 7 to 8 win threshold, that's pushing B to A for me, as far as jumps go.
C- for Druzy.
Caleb Daniel, though, pick 25.
It doesn't really loom as large in my head as it does for you, clearly.
Oh.
Yeah.
There we go. North Melbourne.
All right.
Richmond.
Yeah. So some suggested that Richmond wouldn't win a game this year. And I wonder. No, I think you're missing why I'm saying that, because there is a clip that still gets some comments every now and then of you saying that Richmond wouldn't win a game this year.
Yeah, what an idiot. I also said the Dogs would finish 15th. So people need to realise I'm not a football expert and I have so many blind spots.
No, subscribe.
Oh, yeah. No, we had fun here. Anyway,
Yeah.
what do you think of Richmond?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, they set the tone for their...
You're like, yeah, they're all right.
Yeah. Well, as much as Carlton set the tone for their season in round 1, Richmond kind of did for them as well. Albeit there was some disappointing patches, but for a young side, that has a good batch of experienced players, but no doubt there was a lot of exposure to young talent in this season. Getting that 5 wins and some exciting wins as well would be great. Would have been great. I've a sense that fan morale was relatively high.
Absolutely.
For a 5-win season, whereas North had more premiership points and you just graded them an F. So it's funny how like the perspective really influences this.
Yeah, and whether you're a fan.
Yeah, that's right.
We've got a really funny comment here. I'm sorry to cut it off.
Let's go.
Jesse looks like a World War II soldier with that haircut and mustache.
It is a little bit Inglourious Bastards.
I was going to say it's Brad Pitt.
Yeah, that's what it is. Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
And does he have another movie called Fury?
Yeah,
it's like similar time.
Yeah. Yes, I haven't seen that one.
Is that Yeah, I've watched that. I think I've watched the start of that twice and fallen asleep both times.
It's a kind of movie that does that.
Yeah. Schindler's List is another one, but I digress.
Enough
who'd
World
we
War
like?
II.
Yeah, I was going to say it's just staying on that niche.
What were the positives at Richmond this year? Nick Vlossen, I know he's an old player, but man, he stood up this year.
100%. I think on some level, like he's probably done that his entire career.
Yeah, probably stood out more this year with more sort of responsibility on him.
Yeah, one of the leaders back there. I think
Seth Campbell,
Sam Banks is another one that really improved overall across the season. You look at the rookies that came in, like from that draft. Taj Houghton looks amazing. Sam Lawler, when he wasn't injured, looked amazing. And then they got to, I think one of the big positives is they got to blood all of those tools as well, like Armstrong, Fall, Sims. Yeah, they all played and looked pretty good as well. Yeah. So, it's hard to be critical at all of Richmond, really. I've given them a B+, and mostly off that just like over expectation of wins. The performance, like the game against Carlton, that would have made your season. Yeah. Just that one game alone.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That opening fixture has a bit of a rivalry to it. So no doubt. Just to go through those players, sorry, Drew, is just the of the players who were drafted last year, other than Smiley, who didn't play a game, Trainer played 21, Fall played 16.
Trainer, I forgot about Trainer.
Yep. Fall played 16, Lawler and Sims played 11, Armstrong 8, Houghton 7, and Jasper Olga, whose name is always going to trouble me, played the 4. So
Olga.
Yeah. Olga.
I thought it was Alga.
It might be Alga, yeah.
I don't know.
Forgive me.
The biggest loss of their season was the fact that they passed on boyhood fan Murphy Reid with all of those picks and ended up being the rising star.
As if you weasel that into this.
Yeah.
We got so close.
I don't think they're that worried about that.
Yeah.
Tom Lynch is still like the most paid player in the competition, which is just a side note.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Till St Kilda pissed all over that this year.
Of all of those Richmond draftees, who are you the most excited about?
Lawler.
And then?
Taj.
Yeah, me too.
I haven't seen much of Houghton, but from what I saw of Lawler, I liked him a lot.
Houghton's a sicko. Yeah. Like an absolute sicko.
Who would you compare him to?
I would compare him to Shea Bolton.
Wow, okay.
But
it's quite a playmaker.
Yeah, maybe at this young age, like more midfield, less forward.
Yeah.
Than Shea Bolton.
Okay.
Sort of that, Rankin, Bolton type.
Yeah, hard to tackle, nice and crafty.
Really hard to tackle. The movement's outrageous and then just really good skills on top of that.
Yeah. I'll give him a B.
Yeah, coming off a knee too. Touch Houghton.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, did it in like April last year.
Yeah.
And his production as a junior, like he was getting 30.
And kicking forward.
Like in a new role in the midfield. And kicking forward, exactly. Yeah.
It's outrageous.
Look, B. Again, I think I've made this point before, but when you compare them to either of the other two dog shit clubs, to quote, they have the best batch of senior players and the best mix. So
yeah,
I'm not at all. I'm not surprised in hindsight to see them win 5 games. I don't think that is the exciting element, although it did exceed expectations.
Yep.
But still, positive year. There's not really too many negatives, as you said.
Just one more thing on them. What do you reckon they do with like a Noah Bolter? Like a weird year for him, obviously, with everything off field and pretty poor performance when he actually played. Do you reckon he just comes back 2026 sort of behind him and gets some consistency behind him? I think he's a great player.
He is.
But he's still in his prime.
Yeah.
He's only 26. I presume, is it restrictions on him going to be not applying next year?
Oh,
I thought the
I didn't even think of that.
Curfew. I don't know.
I thought at some point, doesn't it?
I feel like it's this year, but I could be wrong.
I guess it depends on. Does it depend on what it was in court? Like if it was 18 months of like good behaviour or something, does it apply under that same time or?
Don't know. Probably hard to speculate for us.
Because it was actually judge imposed.
Yeah. Right.
The curfew, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't like the club said. Yeah, it was
correct. Yeah. No, the court ordered. Yep. Speaking of court ordered, West Coast Eagles.
Oh yes, yes. Tell me about it, Jesse. Tell me about your one-win season. So good. Tell me about it, please.
Never do that again on this channel, please. Do that only at home for me. Does anyone else want to start this?
I've just got one pro. I just said signed Harley Reid.
Yeah.
And West Coast have one pro as well.
Harley Reid, yeah.
Oh,
Harley Reid.
Good
okay. All right, I'll set the scene. I always thought this would be a bit of a backward step for West Coast, given they have shed some senior players that we actually relied on, and I think more so than any other team in the competition, other than Richmond, I suppose, is West Coast have relied so heavily on these senior players. So when you consider that West Coast had 2 All-Australians last year, which is wild, and neither of them they didn't play this year in Waterman and McGovern, and Elliot Yeo, the second in the best and fairest, didn't play. All teams have injuries, but West Coast do not have the balance of any other team in the competition. There's such a reliance on those players. So I think that if you look at the fullness of the season and consider the growth of some of the young players in this team, which won't get recognised because they only won one game, essentially.
I'll start. Job Shanahan.
Yeah, Job Shanahan. But even just the guys who have been there for a few years, like the best 5 at West Coast instead of Barras, McGovern, Yeo, and Harley last year. I probably wouldn't even have Harley last year. Waterman Oscar Allen and Duggan should be there. They had terrible years.
Yep.
But now it's guys like Hoff, Jinby. Harley was in the top 5 this year. Liam Baker was traded in. Harry Edwards. That's where I'd point to West Coast growth. And ultimately, I don't think this is as negative a year as what one win suggests. What are your reactions to that?
I agree with pretty much everything you've said there. I think, and I agree, it wasn't a 1-win season as far as like the performances. That's where I'm sort of going to go with this. It performatively, it wasn't that. I'll take in all of those things, like particularly with the experienced players that West Coast can't afford. It staggers me to imagine what it would have been like if you didn't have Liam Baker. Because there was a world where you just went to the draft, right? And presumably the draftee wouldn't have been able to do as much as what Baker did. So that's crazy. The negatives are there's not, compared to other teams in similar positions, there's not a lot of talent coming through, I would say, when you compare it to teams like the Saints and Essendon, probably even Melbourne to some extent. All of those teams have a lot of talent, which is a similar issue for North Melbourne as well, where it's like, is our talent actually even superior to theirs? I don't think West Coast have a lot. They're one of the weakest in that area. And also they won 1 game. And I think when you're judging a season, it has to be pretty low.
How many games did they win? Oh, you can't say games. How many game did they win?
Game. Can't plural.
That's all I have to offer, to be honest. I think
I'm glad, to be honest.
Shanahan up forward looks like you've got a good, genuine key forward. He signed till 2028 as well, didn't he? So he's committed his future there. I can't really add.
Tom McCarthy looks like he could be an All-Australian one year.
Definitely a good positive.
Yeah.
Quantity of young, talented players, though, would you say it's inferior to those players like Richmond's and North Melbourne's?
I'm not convinced about Richmond yet. They've had 1 season.
They've only had 1.
And in a more equipped team to be competitive. And with St Kilda, I agree their talent is better. But the thing is, there's a lot of guys at West Coast who you just can imagine playing better if it was a better team as well. So that means they could sink or swim. It means they could fail. But I don't know if it's fair to say that West Coast's young talent isn't great. But we also traded Barris's picks into the future. So what will get missed is when we talk about this in 6 months' time, West Coast could have 4 first-round picks in addition to what they have now, which does change the equation.
I didn't necessarily look at them and say, there's no talent or anything like that. But just when you compare it to what other teams have. But you're right, you will get into those drafts, but then you've got to wait longer too, right?
Yeah, but we also started this process after North, so I'm not surprised that our talent's inferior to North at this point.
Yeah.
One thing I will also say, and this isn't really, I'm just adding context that I'm not really going to speak about the grade too much, but West Coast's best performances all year were against the top 4. So against the entire top four, I think West Coast was in front at halftime in all of them, except for maybe Geelong. I'm not sure.
Crazy.
So I wrote it down. Okay. In the last quarter against Brisbane, we're 4 points down. We're up at halftime. 6 points down in the last quarter against Geelong. 4 points down in the last minute of the third term against Collingwood. So up in halftime in most of those, and led Adelaide at 3/4 time recently. All I'm saying there is if they had saved their best for the shit teams of the competition, they'd have a few more wins. And now they played terrible. In the reality, they played poorly against the worst teams in the comp, which in turn makes it a 1-win season.
A+.
Fast forward, take me to round 1, 2026. What is West Coast having a good season? Shifty's just put there. Love what I saw against Adelaide a few weeks ago. I reckon West Coast will rise in 2026. 10th or so is my prediction. Big clubs don't usually stay at the bottom for long. What would it have to take for something like that to happen? That seems a little bit far-fetched.
Chad Warner would have to come to West Coast now.
I'm going to West Coast Eagles tattoo on my forehead if West Coast finish 10th next year. It's not going to happen.
By head, he means skin. I think for that to happen, Chad Warner would have to join West Coast and he'd have to bring along Isaac Heaney and a couple of other
bounce. Yeah. You could imagine there's a world you finish third bottom, fourth bottom.
Yeah. What would have to happen?
What would have to happen?
I'm not expecting it. So I think it's a bit of a long shot. I think one other club would have to have an injury crisis. I mean, good seasons from Duggan, who had a shocker, Elliot Yeo, Jake Waterman.
My brain goes to Elijah Hewitt.
I didn't even mention him.
Yeah.
Someone like that having a real breakout year as a midfielder.
I suppose my instinct with him is it's going to be slower burn. Whereas Harley, I think, could probably make that jump quicker, personally. Okay. But yeah, not a bad shout.
I feel like Elijah Hewitt, as long as the body stays good, I think he could be one that really breaks out. But obviously a tough year.
Yeah.
How good of a player, do you think Elijah Hewitt can be as like a slow burn? Like, what do you think his ceiling is?
I think he could be A grade. I mean, it's pretty hard to quantify exactly what that is. I think he could be All-Australian caliber once or twice in his career.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'd agree with that.
I think Harley is clearly the best talent we have.
Yeah.
I think Tom McCarthy could be an All-Australian. Ruby Jimby could be an All-Australian one day. But anyway, we're getting on a tangent here. Next year, I think that West Coast is clearly the favourite for the spoon. I can't imagine much changing. But that's okay because we are where we're at and we need to hit the draft and hopefully the seeds come up. So what are we saying for a grade?
A+. I'm sticking firm to that.
I went D.
Yeah. I find it so hard. I think I'll give them a D or a D-. If you said an F, I wouldn't have argued against it because it's just like 1-win season at the end of the day. But there has been progress, which I don't think there was progress in 2024 and we had 5 wins. Because our senior players built the back
I'd
of those
agree.
wins.
I reckon you've had worse years.
Yes, the club was never at a lower point than it was 2 years ago when we had 500-point losses. We haven't had that since that year.
It's just difficult to apportion a higher ranking with a 1-win season.
Agreed. I don't disagree. If you gave him an F, I would be like, yeah, whatever.
Piss off.
But what about A+?
Yeah.
It was excellent.
I'll take it, yeah.
You get the joke?
We have to explain our jokes to each other.
I just thought it was a really good season as a Freo fan.
I thought you made a pun that I missed.
Yeah, no. I really enjoyed West Coast season.
Shifty's
and long may it continue.
Shifty is dying on the heel of that Adelaide game and what West Coast can do. Fair play. We've got trades next.
Yes, I am going to need to pee again.
It's trade season.
Yeah.
All right,
you go
down
first.
the fort. Oh,
you go.
I thought you were going to
you and I will go.
Swords. Like.
You go first.
This got awkward.
Yeah.
All right. So, Jesse, if you were stranded on an island and you could be with one West Coast Eagle, who would it be?
Campbell Chesser.
All right.
He's a good-looking fella. I knew you'd take that.
No. I wanted to bring this up before, but I was like, I'm not going to inject my Freo stuff here. So you say, right, Elijah Hewitt, slow burn.
Yeah.
Can be All-Australian. Why don't you think someone like Neil Erasmus could do the same?
Oh, the traits and natural football ability. I like how quickly you buckled. Like you were like,
no,
I didn't expect
you
that.
just like put a line through my man Neil, and I feel like he could be a very good midfielder.
Look,
for
it
us.
gets mixed around because we had that like ego battle around that conversation. Sometimes we lose sight of what we're saying. I think he could be a fringe player in a very good team. I just don't think he justifies a top 10 pick. Not that that's a big deal for Fremantle. It's a bigger deal if it was like your first pick in 2017.
Do you think he could be like Freo's Jack Redden?
No. Jack Redden, mainly, I mean, I'm an Eagles fan, I'm biased, but I remember him at his best was actually really good.
Yeah. So was he like a third best mid for you when it was like Shuey? Who else was
Shuey and Yo and Gaff probably was a higher ranking, but Redden was player of the finals when we won the
That's
flag.
what I mean. Like, yeah, I could see him making that sort of impact. We're back on Neil.
Oh, yeah, I don't think he's a total spud. I don't think he's a total spud, but I think,
Erasmus.
I just think he's got natural limitations that will, like, he's never going to be Brayshaw or Sarong. Even just keeping it free.
I'm not saying that, but I think he could be a really solid fourth midfielder for us.
He could be a rotation mid. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I don't think he's like going to get cut from the AFL or something. He just looks a bit like one of those like tall mids that doesn't necessarily have like too many more weapons other than just being a taller mid.
See, I see that in Matt Johnson. I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Neil Erasmus, I think, has a bit more IQ.
Okay.
And good with the ball in hand. Anyway.
Better decision maker.
Yeah, good kick inside 50. He had like 8 intercepts on the weekend against the Dogs.
So what was his exact role in that game?
Just like on ball midfield. I think, yeah. Oh, shit. He rolls mainly on ball, but rolls out to the wing because we have a rotation that's like O'Meara, Wagner, Erasmus. Inside out. I just dropped that clip. I'm going to pick that up.
Go for it, mate. Go for it.
I'm a real fiddler.
Would you trade Erasmus if you had this option? Would you swap Erasmus for Hewitt?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I would.
Yep. Interesting. Erasmus
Definitely not for Campbell Chester, though. Absolutely not.
No, that's fair. I think that's fair.
Erasmus to West Coast. So part of the reason I bring this up is because Ben Brown says Erasmus played on the wing. He also played on ball centre bounce. Yeah, we're offering him a contract, like as it stands. So it's spoken about being a 3-year deal, but he also has bigger offers from Victorian clubs. So,
yeah, okay. And probably more opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
To actually get.
I reckon he's played like 18 games this year.
Yeah, I reckon he's played most games. When I say opportunity, I mean for midfield time.
But he's getting that.
But he wouldn't be getting like.
Be getting more at other clubs.
That's what I mean.
Like more percentage on ball. But like, how much do you want to like pick up and change your life for more time in the midfield? You know what I mean? Like Judd McVie right now, it's like I want to play more midfield. Like, I suppose it extends your career, but.
Yeah,
isn't that an interesting thing? Like you're ready to pick up and move your life to play a different position. You know what I mean?
But I mean, it's sort of, I think that comes into your competitiveness, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a double-edged sword too, I guess, because in some ways you should want to stay and fight for your place if you think you're that good.
Yeah.
But I do think on some level that if you do take that more opportunity that's given to you, you can then play better. You can get more accolades. You can get more money.
Yeah.
And stuff like that as well. So
True.
it sort of goes into that. I was just going to have a look at his...
Who, Neil?
Yeah, I was going to look at his centre bounces because I agree with you. He would have had some.
He played really well against the Dogs. Sorry to spend so much time on Neil Erasmus, but I think you guys undersell.
Where are his centre bounces?
85% disposal efficiency.
I thought you were going to say 85% CBAs. Like that cannot be right.
Well, when you got Sarong, Brayshaw, Young, and Bolton in the team, naturally,
25%.
Perhaps we can start with Erasmus. Sorry if you were discussing it, but it re-emerged that the Bulldogs are now targeting Erasmus, and he's got a contract decision to make. I think Freo's offered 3 years. Is that right? The Bulldogs seems like an interesting one. I think we were saying last week for him to choose to get midfield minutes. Now, I know Treloar and Libba are at the end of their careers, but I feel like of all the clubs to go to, like Erasmus would still probably find it hard to get on-ball minutes in 2026, right? Maybe in 2027,
the
28.
Western Bulldogs we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. I reckon if there was one club that you wouldn't want to go to other than being at Fremantle currently, it's probably the Western Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Maybe Gold Coast.
They're obviously getting proactive with saying, okay, Libba and Treloar, 32, 33 each. So I understand why the Dogs are interested, but, I just think there's not enough in it for Erasmus to make that move. I don't think
so.
Unless there's a big money component.
When you also factor in, the Dogs do have younger players coming through too, like Riley Sanders and Joel Frazier. They'll be looking for those minutes as well.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a disappointing year for Sanders, wasn't it? Didn't really...
Weird one. I actually thought in the role that they had him playing as like a half forward, come up to stoppage player, like he did pretty well, but I thought it was strange that he got dropped for that game against you guys, replaced for
Artie Jones.
So
Artie Jones played well, to be fair.
They went for more. Yeah, he did actually. They went for a more like genuine small forward there, but he started sub, right?
Yeah.
He would take time. I do think these biggest bodied midfielders do take a little bit longer than your outside types, and I suppose he has an outside game, but I kind of always saw Sanders as not hitting his prime until a little bit later.
Really? See, I feel Sanders to me looks like the ultimate player that would come in and play well straight away. I reckon the reason that he hasn't is positional, because he can't get into the midfield.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. And maybe he'd be great in that role if he was given that responsibility. But I think even though he's got a bigger body for a younger kid, he always had that. Sometimes it still takes that time for that strength advantage to translate at AFL level.
Sure.
Like he had that at junior level, and it's just a completely different ball game. Like Harley Reid's probably the only one that I've seen that can just play AFL from 18 and just be a full-time midfielder. That's pretty rare.
It's pretty rare. I mean, like there's other players that are like Harvey Langford this season with physicality is competitive enough, but like Reid's first season was actual domination.
Yeah, like he was stronger than a lot of AFL players. Is probably the
pushing
point,
away Petrarca and stuff like that. It was crazy.
Yeah, just didn't lose his feet.
But I totally agree with you on that one, that Erasmus would be in a at least similar situation to what he was already in at Freo. So he'd have to want to move there for cash or lifestyle, maybe.
Maybe in 2027, 28, it's easier for him to get into the team. But 2026, he's just going to spend another year not quite where he wants to be, presumably, anyway.
We're on the brink of trade season,
boys.
Are,
yes. Let's go through some of the deals that there has been some confirmed requests because the season has ended since the last time we did a show. We talked a little bit about Naz. We also had Harley Reid. Both of those players recommit to their clubs on short deals. Massive for both of those clubs. I don't know how much there is to say, but obviously we talked about Naz, and West Coast desperately needed Reid to recommit for a billion reasons. His talent, the optics, and a show of faith in what we're building. That's been amazing for us.
And the coach. I suppose that's a show of faith, but...
Yeah, that's right. I think it's a character move as well from Harley. I think everyone would have been like, no wonder, of course he's going to leave. So for him to buck that trend, I reckon that played into his personality a little bit as well.
Bit of competitiveness.
He didn't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
So it's not a safe bet that he stays, but we've got a little bit more time.
What's Reid getting paid a year?
So there's a lot of mixed news. Like what was said was originally that 2-year, then 9-year extension, and then a few people at West Coast came out and said that's not true. So I just don't know what's real and what's not. But what has been reported is it's 2 years that's got triggers and incentives, and the max capacity of that is $2 million a year.
Okay.
But it's only for 3 years or 2 years, really.
Yeah, that's fair. It's just out and out $2 million a year for 2 years.
Yeah.
Young boys on big money.
Yeah.
Let's hope,
Good players, though.
Yeah, they are very good players.
Yeah, good for the comp for where those teams are at the moment, I would say. And I'm biased, but yeah. There's a few St Kilda stories to go through, so maybe we can start here. Windhager has been a name that's bounced around in a number of clubs, including North Melbourne, who offered him a 5-year deal. I saw GWS was another club linked to him. And there's probably more. I think Essendon were in the mix. But I think the latest news on that is he is now likely to stay with St Kilda now that they have upped it to 4 years. We talked about TDK as well for St Kilda. So maybe we'll talk about these guys in a bracket because we've also seen a link to Flanders and Cam McKenzie.
Yeah. So TDK, he's done pretty much. He said that he's nominated.
Yeah.
So that one's happening. I guess really the only thing to discuss with TDK is what it does to Marshall. And the knock-on effects of that. Is that a good thing to do to somebody who's been a good player for you and a culture guy at the club, enroll Marshall?
So a few Saints fans responded to our discussion about this last week, and their feedback generally was that Marshall and Ryder worked well together. So there's a belief that it can work well together here. However, surely there's a list spot squeeze. If St Kilda are serious about going for Cam McKenzie, Roland Marshall, Liam Ryan, I just said some of their names.
Silvani.
Forgive me. Silvani's another one. And
Ligalia.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a bunch of names there. If they're serious about most of these, Flanders, yep, then maybe Marshall does have to make way just from a list spot point of view and maybe money as well.
Salary
I don't know.
cap. Yeah. Didn't they say like Naz and TDK will be taking up like 18% of their salary cap or something like that? 20% of their salary cap.
I saw a good meme and it was like the car park of St Kilda and it had like all these old Corollas and then 2 like Lamborghinis or something like that. And it was like TDK and Naz at St Kilda next year.
That's a funny meme.
Yeah, it is.
Liam Ryan, that's going to happen, do you think?
It really depends on what West Coast do. There is a possibility that they let Ryan have what he wants, but as we talked about last week, and I've talked about on my channel, True Eagle, there's really not much in it for West Coast to do this deal other than just to treat Liam nicely, because it just weakens the team and they're not going to get a good draft pick for it, presumably. And we already have a strong draft hand. So I think it would be a sign of weakness for West Coast to let this happen easily.
Is he contracted at West Coast?
Yeah, it's a critical point.
Him,
so who knows? Like, it may be worth a while. Could other clubs come into the mix and West Coast get something they can actually use? It's possible. Surely, like, there's been a lot of buzz like in the media circles about how everyone's shocked at what St Kilda are doing. Do you have any thoughts broadly about this bold strategy? They can't possibly land all these players.
I was just going to... Rogie's just put in the chat there, Saints going to overpay for all these players, and then in a few years when some of their younger guys are going to want better deals, they might not be able to give it. I get that. I do get that sentiment. The only thing is, like, what are they supposed to do when they've got the opportunity to sign these players? Do they just say, well, no, we're not going to do it. We've got like a salary structure. That hasn't worked for them because that's kind of what they've been doing for the last 10 to 15 years.
I don't think you go and pay someone like a Ligalia $800,000 a year. Well, that's a bar, bro. When you got like someone like Taru coming through, that's 2 bars in a row, dude. Come on. Anyway,
I think it's because they rhyme. If anyone else is lost,
I'm massively lost.
Ligalia $100K a year. Taru coming through.
Okay.
Bars. Anyway, subscribe to my rap channel. Don't have one. Like, yeah, you don't. That's a good point from Rogue, right? Like, how much are you going to pay for Ligalia? How much are you going to pay for Silvani? Like, the player that Taru could be in 5 years could be one of the best intercept players in the comp. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think though, I suppose on some level you've got to trust the process. I know those things have caught up with clubs in the past, but the fact that they're a small Melbourne club. I feel like you do, if you can land these guys, you probably are going to have to overpay a little bit.
Yeah, I just can't see a world where they get even most of these players done. No, to be honest, I think this is kind of interesting, but maybe let's flip it to see, like, if you're the Gold Coast Suns, right, with Flanders not out of contract, they're about to start a finals campaign for the first time. I've seen it written that they're pissed that this is like broken. Do you give up Sam Flanders? Now, on the one hand, okay, he's an established player playing well off half-back at the moment for a team in the window.
Is he playing half-back?
I think he has been.
With the absence of Rioli, that makes sense.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
I might have missed that positional move. I thought he was playing this year more as a
he's playing forward. I think is he playing forward?
Yeah, that makes more sense.
I think that's what it was. Sorry, he has played half-back in the past. I think when Hardwick got there, yes.
He has, but since Rioli and Noble came in.
Yeah, you're right. Presumably his motivation would be, okay, midfield minutes.
Yeah.
I think
he's not getting into the main rotation.
Exactly. But from a Gold Coast point of view, they do have an academy like churning out these talents. They got Zeke Uland, who could probably play round one. Admittedly, now he'd probably play behind the footy. Would you agree, Zeke Uland?
Yeah, or a wing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Gold Coast could be in a position to let this happen. Do you reckon they should do it? If presuming they got a good enough deal for it.
Yeah. The question is, though, for them to lose a player like Sam Flanders, like, what is a good deal for the Gold Coast to get back into the draft?
Next year is what I would think.
Yeah.
Mind you, you'd be dealing with St Kilda, who, if they land these players, could be playing finals, and that affects the quality of the pick.
Yeah. I just think for the Gold Coast Suns, and again, you bring that back to the academy players, like, what's actually in it for them to get into the draft? Like, what sort of a pick could satisfy them to say, like, yeah, that's at least as good, if not better, than a Sam Flanders? On some level, I feel for the Gold Coast Suns, Sam Flanders is probably surplus to requirements, but he's still going to be a better player right now than an 18-year-old, right?
Yeah.
So it's a difficult one for what they would actually be willing to give up. Like the pick would have to be high, I feel. And where the Saints are at, are they going to want to do that?
They've got pick 8, I think, this year.
Pick 8. What do you think? I suppose the question is like, what is Sam Flanders? Like, what's his ceiling? What do you think he can do as a player if he was given like a full-time midfield role?
Who can he become?
Yeah, I think he's a good player. I don't know if he's got much of a ceiling in him though.
I agree. Yeah,
you know what you're getting with him, eh?
Yeah. A-, B+.
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 Yeah, B+.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at St Kilda, obviously, they need midfield reinforcement. Certainly mature midfielders, at least in their prime. They've got some good young talent.
Yeah.
But it's probably not
I get it from their perspective because they probably do need those, like in that prime of their age, they probably need some of those like stoppage mids. Like I said, they've got McRae and Steele, but they're not as dynamic as these new guys that play that role, like Sarong and Rowell and these types, and even Tom Green. So like I think Sam Flanders maybe could play that role for them. Bit of a ball winner in there.
Yeah.
They've got the young outside players there to complement. Yeah, I couldn't see this one getting done. I reckon this is less likely to get done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. And same with Cam McKenzie. I think Hawthorn would be...
Yeah.
You know, I feel like Hawthorn, sort of like Geelong, are like... They're happy to go for other players. This is not a criticism, but they go for other players. And when teams come for their players, they're like, bugger off. You're not getting our players. And that's fine. They're entitled to do that.
So ideally, St Kilda... Well, they've got TDK...
Well, a lot rests on Silvani with Aaliyah.
Yeah.
So I think the Aaliyah thing could impact the Silvani thing. And then there's a further connection where like Carlton are going for Buku Kamis, who probably is easier to get if Silvani goes to the Dogs. But then Carlton need a key back. So Buku Kamis goes to Carlton. If that makes sense? Like it's all kind of connected and there's a bit of a revolving door.
I didn't really see Buku as a key.
No, he's probably not. But he's
referred to as a key position player. Like
How tall is he?
I just see him as that third tall.
Yeah. I suppose so is Silvani though.
Yeah, they still, as far as like what they actually call that kind of player, they generally still put them into the bracket because you're either a general defender or a key defender, right?
Yeah.
As far as like what you actually get.
True.
Yeah.
True. This actually is an interesting one, but that is West Coast related. Okay, Oscar Allen has nominated a move to Brisbane. That's been official. We talked about this. But West Coast have applied for an exemption around the possibility of signing Brandon Starcevich. So for those unaware, Brandon Starcevich is a free agent for Brisbane, out of contract, and it's a choice between West Coast and Brisbane is the latest rumour. Oscar Allen, free agent, going to Brisbane, pretty locked in. How it works is, and again, I'm explaining for people who may know already, but free agency works as like a net in versus net out in terms of the compensation, which means that if the Eagles lose Oscar Allen, yes, they might get picked 2, but if they sign a free agent, that will bring down their own compensation. So West Coast obviously want to avoid signing Starcevich as a free agent. They have 2 options. They could trade for him, probably be fairly expensive. He's a good quality premiership defender that's in the prime of his career. Even though he's out of contract, you'd pay a fair price for Starcevich, something in the top 20.
This where these deals are hard though, right? Because a player like Starcevich, when there's a club that's a premiership team and they've got a bunch of players that are premiership players, they always get this bit of a premium on them.
I don't disagree, but he's probably still like he's not a bottom 6 player. You know what I mean?
So he's quality. Like don't get me wrong with that. But yeah, there is that kind of element where someone's been a premiership player and they just get a little bit, it's like probably a 15% or something like that.
If they didn't get the exemption and you still got Starcevich in, what would that become?
The AFL would decide on it. So you can guarantee it's not pick 2 though. Mm-hmm. So it's a fair price for West Coast to pay. So the part of the assistance package that West Coast has requested is to get an exemption here to sign Starcevich as a free agent. Oscar Allen gets to Brisbane.
So they're basically removing the bureaucracy of the AFL. They're just kind of like going around it.
Yeah, I
That's how it would work.
So it's a fair big jump from just simply asking for list spots, in my opinion. This is a fairly significant request. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean...
should the AFL do this is probably the question I'd ask you.
I think given the length of time of which West Coast have been in this position that doesn't seem to be getting any better, I do think that it's pretty important that West Coast get that second pick at the top end of the draft this season. I know that's probably going to make a lot of rival fans unhappy. People want the draft. I do think we need to move towards a system where this doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been happening, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to kind of cut it off on West Coast to a team in that bracket of like a North Melbourne, where it's been season after season after season. Like I wouldn't, if Richmond were asking for this exemption tomorrow, I wouldn't be keen. No. If they'd been in this position for 5 years, then I'm saying yes.
Yeah.
That's where I sit on it.
We can probably do the algebra here and say that this is probably the equivalent of getting like pick 18, because that's probably what you pay for Brandon Starcevich, who's out of contract.
Yeah, okay.
So it just removes West Coast need to do that. So that's equivalent, roughly the value we're talking about here. Druzy, I know you're a big advocate for West Coast getting a priority pick. I suppose you think West Coast should absolutely get everything they're deserving of?
Yeah. Yes. Whatever makes our life harder, yes. I think the Starcevich thing makes sense, right? Like, yeah, you've been down the bottom for a while. Helps you. Yeah, I can see that. But like, did North get like just a straight up pick, or like Gold Coast just get given a pick?
We got 2 picks. We got given 2 picks at the end of the first round.
Okay.
So we got given pick, I think it was pick 19 and pick 20, which we had to trade.
Yeah.
So we weren't allowed to take players in the draft with them. We had to trade them. So it was just capital for us to bring in players from other clubs, and then we got Zach Fisher and Dylan Stevens.
So this would be the same situation, just replace it with Brandon Starcevich.
I obviously don't like follow the trade and draft stuff as much as you guys, but I think when you make a decision like trading for Caleb Daniel and giving away a pick 3, or like I don't know, you'd probably know more about the ones at West Coast, Jesse, than me, but I think that has to come into it when you kind of shot yourself in the foot here. Like,
thing is, that example and any West Coast example you could think of in the last 4 years is not part of the reason either of these clubs became terrible. You know, like, it's not because the youth at West Coast and North isn't good. It's the established players. So we're really paying for the price for decisions we made a while ago.
I think it's hard too with trying to target individual decisions, because as you get into this mess, the decision making seems to get worse, because you get like you lose brain power of people leave the club.
Yeah.
Like, it's that brain drain, you know, where people leave. Like,
is it that, or do they just stand out more? Because if you're a good club and you make bad decisions, no one cares.
Well,
like with the Tim Kelly deal, right? We paid,
but presumably on some logical level, if you keep making, even as a good team, if you keep making bad decisions, you'll be bad, right?
True. But like the Kelly deal gets blown out of proportion, in my opinion. But didn't Collingwood pay 2 firsts for Dane Beams and get nothing out of him? But that didn't dismantle their list. It was a much bigger problem for West Coast. So
I guess just highlighting that idea that individual decisions, it's hard to quantify the disaster that is West Coast and North Melbourne on singular decisions. But I do think there is that's probably more of a North Melbourne thing, because we're a smaller club, probably a less financial club. I think better people, like more skilled people, more talented people, not just players, but off-field people also want to go to bigger clubs that can offer more.
In summary, I don't expect the AFL to accept this. It's more generous than what I suggested, which was just 2 extra list spots and help with our NGAs. It's essentially a top 20 pick. I would have thought one more season before we're at that point. But obviously I'm hoping for it. I think it would help.
I had a bit of a weird inside scoop today, fellas.
Vanilla or Neapolitan?
I would actually smash some ice cream. But
thank you. I thought you were going to leave me hanging there.
Sorry, I didn't. That's usually only Druzy that does that.
No, I mean, me and Jesse
tell us this story, Drews.
So I work on a rose farm, right? My daily hard yakka that I do, and a certain Carlton official walks in, right? And I'm like, can you just tell me what's going on with Charlie Curnow? Because obviously it's a talking point at the moment.
Did he say we're talking off record, or was he pretty?
Oh, fuck it.
Journalistic integrity.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said where I worked, but that's all right.
Did you say, everything's looking rosy at Carlton?
No, I didn't, because it's not.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, Curnow said in his exit interview, this has been reported by Tom Morris as well, so this isn't new news, but Curnow wants to leave Carlton.
I think the difference, though, in the Tom Morris interview, I think he said he's open to leave.
Yeah, no, he wants.
He said in his exit interview that he floated the possibility of leaving.
Yes.
Yeah.
So wants is a stronger verb.
Yeah, well, that's what I've heard that's what I've heard from my sources. But yeah, Sydney are the most likely. But yeah, obviously Goulden, Heaney, Warner, untouchables, Blakey as well. What I've heard, and I think it's been reported by Tom Morris, and I hope it has, is Papley, McDonald, and a high pick. So
Yeah.
Papley, McDonald, high pick.
This would be a very Carlton move if they agreed to that.
I don't know if that's like what they're talking about on the inside, or if that's just like general discussion around the landscape. I don't want to throw this guy under a bus.
Oh, no more than you already have.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
I think maybe we're over focusing on like Papley, McDonald, and that pick, but I think like that's just a nothing trade for Carlton. Like if anything, I'd be trying to get creative and try and get West Coast pick 2.
Yeah,
as part of a roundabout deal.
I'm trying to work out how, like the Papley part of it's difficult because he's like, as you said, he's over 30.
Turns 30 next year.
He's a good player though, isn't he? So I'm trying to weigh up how much better Curnow is than Papley, and then where that leaves what's McDonald worth, if anything, and then the draft pick as well. I think on paper it's not terrible.
It ticks a few boxes of gets them into the first round of the draft, albeit they've got that bid anyway for Harry Dean.
Yeah, so they'd have to get back out again.
Yeah, exactly, which is still fine. It's an asset, right?
Yeah.
It gives them a tool to replace Curnow, who's not at the end of his career, he's in his prime in theory, right? Or start of his prime. And then Papley, who gives them that immediate punch, but what's a 30-year-old really doing for their medium-term prospects?
No, that's the problem. Like if Papley was 26... I'm almost saying, I'd say yes, because it also it fixes a need for Carlton that's really demanding right now, which is that small forward position. They haven't had somebody really high level, and Papley is that, and also gives something a little bit different at centre bounce as well. So, yeah, he's just too old. Papley's just too old.
Well, you don't want a player at your club that doesn't want to be there. And, we got, Silvani, another heart and soul player that is pretty much... I think he said that he wants to leave and...
No, he's going.
He's gone.
He's absolutely going.
Yeah. So it's crazy to think what's happening at Carlton at the moment.
Do you see any positives? Because I think the fan base has actually been pretty split on this. That I think they're kind of liking the idea that the place is being blown up a little bit, even though there may be some short-term pain. But there are fans out there going, okay, this isn't. Get some of these guys out, have a little bit of a reset, and go again. Well, you'd have to get the right people out. Any silver lining in this?
I think you'd want to go harder at the draft than someone like a Tom Papley, given Tassie coming in as well. How much good footy does Tom Papley have left in him? He often misses a lot of football.
I agree.
Yeah.
I did say a while ago, I don't think Carlton should blow up their list and trade completely into the draft, but if you've got a bit of an opportunity here to get into the top 2, and I am taking a bit of a leap there, I think it makes perfect sense for someone to target West Coast pick 2 as a part of a deal to get this done. Because Gold Coast would be involved in that. Mind you, would Gold Coast be part of a deal that sees Curnow get to Sydney? Maybe not. But I agree generally that the pointy end of the draft is where Carlton should focus.
Papley is only 1 year older than Curnow, from Stephen Camilleri.
That's an interesting point, yeah.
That is an interesting point.
Yeah, I didn't actually consider that.
I felt Curnow was at least a couple of years younger. Shifty says McDonald is a decent prospect. I would rather take a stab at the draft.
Yeah,
than McDonald. Given there's a few pretty decent tools in this year's draft as well.
Yeah. Mind you, Carlton probably do need another key forward if Curnow goes, right? Who's coming up?
100%.
Well, they've got Lewis Young, and they could play next season. They could play Lewis Young and Mackay. Depth is probably
shine me up. Sounds awful.
Yeah, well, Mackay's a good player.
Yeah,
he's a good forward.
You're right.
He's won a Coleman medal.
Yeah. No, he's a good player. Yeah. Lewis Young's mostly been a key defender though, right?
He has this year. Yeah.
You think of Carlton having a little bit of fun in the last couple of years with, some good wins, some finals and that type of thing, and you think how big of a part a player like Charlie Curnow has played in that. Some of the incoming players that they're linked to, Liam Reedy, Fremantle Dockers' third choice ruck.
That'll move the needle.
Yeah. That'll get them going. Jack Petruccelli. They've just sacked Orazio Fantasia. Here's Orazio Fantasia 3 years ago.
The second, yeah.
I think it is
Orazio the second.
I actually don't mind it. I think it kind of makes sense to try and go for these low-cost, value-add, mature players, considering they don't cost much and they do need to reinvigorate a little bit. And when you look, again, I always go to the Geelong model, but Geelong do turn these kinds of players into decent role players.
Do you know what that screams to me, the Petruccelli one?
What?
We need speed. He's fast, so let's just get him.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a desperation move.
I think Petruccelli could honestly have had a decent career. I don't think he's a particularly talented football, but he has very good strengths. His speed, he's good overhead. He's pretty good around goal. So when West Coast were good, he kicked multiple bags at 5.
I'd agree. I agree with that.
So I don't know if the team is Carlton, but if you put him at, say, peak Richmond, I reckon we'd be calling him a star. Maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but I think he could have, if Castagna wasn't there and it was Petruccelli, he could have actually looked good.
He's pretty injury prone though, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so hamstrings are bad.
So I suppose, like to Drew's point before, it's a bit of you could probably say all those things about Fantasia.
Yeah.
At some point in his career.
And Fantasia is better than Petruccelli. I believe that.
But I feel like, Carlton have literally gone, we need speed. Everyone's telling us that we need speed.
Yeah.
And
need to replace a rock.
Yeah.
Liam Reedy. I think the Reedy one's good.
Yeah,
Do you not rate him?
he's all right.
Yeah.
I don't rate him.
He hasn't had a consistent run of AFL, to be honest. He's a strong player. I don't think he's terrible, but it's like you've gone from TDK to Liam Reedy.
Yeah, but I mean, Hawthorn took the punt on Lloyd Meek.
Yeah.
And that worked out.
I think Lloyd Meek...
I'm not saying they're the same player.
They're quite different, actually.
Liam Reedy was taken as a mature ager as well, I reckon.
Okay, right. It could be a bust.
I think it's a depth play.
Yeah, it's not a terrible move, but you have clearly downgraded in multiple areas.
Yeah.
Carlton are going to be a worse team next year.
Yeah. They had some injuries.
Get Nick Newman back.
Nick Newman, the Brownlow. He'll win a Brownlow.
It's a tangent. I'm not convinced that will be worse next year.
Anyway, those are some strange moves. Any other moves?
One Italian out for another Italian in. Petruccelli.
Draper. Yeah, sorry. That's actually good. Yeah. Draper is line ball between the Lions, Crows or Bombers. So the only update there is I kind of thought Lions was on, but he's still deciding between all three of those clubs, which is mildly interesting.
Was it
Lions, Crows and still the Bombers. So it's still possible he stays.
Lions, Crows,
we haven't heard any confirmation. As we're recording this, we haven't heard the confirmation.
I mean, Crows makes a lot of sense. I guess the bigger thing there is what the compensation is.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we know with the Oscar Allen one that it's going to be band one. We don't know.
We don't know. We don't know.
We sort of do, though.
It depends what the offer is. We just can't 100% verify what the offer is. But everything that's been reported is up there. So
we also have to consider that he's a ruckman who was quite, you think of that goal of the year, quite springy. Sorry. He's just done an Achilles, lads.
Yeah.
He's just done one of the worst injuries that a ruckman can do.
So, and he relies a lot on his athleticism, doesn't he?
Essendon, get rid. He might go and be a good player, but he won't. I'm not going to put a line through him. I kind of am. But for Essendon, get the pick, move on.
Yeah. It's out of their hands, really. To be honest, it comes down to Draper's decision. But you'd have to think that pick 6, whatever it's going to be, would exceed Sam Draper.
Yeah. The only thing is, where does that leave them with a ruck? Because they've got Nick Bryan.
Todd Goldstein, bro. Run it back one more time.
Nick Bryan.
Liam Reedy.
Who they drafted? They've drafted Blackiston, but he's played back. I don't know if
he's just played key back. They do have Western Australian from last year's draft. Not Vicentini.
They do have Vicentini.
They've got Vicentini.
What's the trainer from last year's draft? Fuck.
Somebody help me in the comments, please. He's played pretty well in the VFL, but he hasn't.
18-year-old ruck?
Yeah.
I should know this.
Went between pick 30 and 40. Forward ruck.
Geraint. Kale Geraint.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's pronounced Geraint.
Geraint. It is Geraint.
I think it's Geraint.
Yeah. That one's a genuinely hard one.
Yes.
That's what she said. Let's talk about... just to rattle off a few. Carlton's told Elijah Hollins to explore his moves. Explore your moves for me. And he... you get another contract. A player they just traded in, but he had some off-field issues, Elijah. So I don't know if
he'll be a good pickup somewhere. If he can get his head right, get on the straight and narrow. Elijah Hollands will be a good player.
He was another one that Carlton fans earlier in the season were saying, when we get him back.
Yeah, him and Jordan Boyd will take a silver
turn.
flag.
Yeah,
but he had the same issues at Gold Coast, didn't he? Carlton gave him a lifeline to go there, and then he's ended up in a bad way again. So hopefully he can get
I hope he gets back.
I don't know if there's a relationship disconnect there, but I feel like Carlton is exactly the sort of club who should take a punt on Elijah Hollands as much as any other club.
Yeah,
like you need some young talent. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, so therefore, like,
there must be punt on him.
Yeah.
Nah, I think Carlton are at the point now where they're like, let's completely reset our culture.
Sure, if it's a cultural question, which I don't know if it is, but I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of that. It is.
It's Graham Wright, isn't it? That's gone in there.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's Graham Wright, so he's going to want to make those changes, like clean the place out a little bit.
Yeah, fair enough.
Definitely
exactly. Yeah. Make sure there's integrity.
Job.
Laverde to GWS. This seems quite likely. He was meant to fly from Gold Coast to Sydney. He ended up not getting there. Essendon haven't even offered him a deal for next year. So the Giants, with Alika Lee, are obviously likely to leave. Laverde is on the menu. And let's talk about Zane Dersma, because you support North Melbourne, and that's the lazy link. But obviously a top 3 pick a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
pick four. Yeah. And I think that was a suggestion that he's just frustrated. And this story has come back again very recently. I think Toomey's talked about it as a one to watch. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think he rumoured at least that he has told the club that he wants to seek a trade.
Mm-hmm.
Whether the thing with this one that I feel like just can't get done, I don't see a deal for where he's at in his career right now. We're going to be losing significant capital on the trade, right? Which is what I always talk about with, if you trade into one position too strongly, you're going to end up with these guys that want to go. And if they're not playing, they've lost value. So if North traded him, you're probably looking at pick 15 to 20 maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe 25, something in that sort of realm. Yep. And then what are we going to be getting back with a pick like that? Not that much. So he's still contracted, right?
Yes, one more year.
1 more year. It's just, we're not going to get enough value back for him to actually make the deal happen. And I think I think North would bank on the fact that in 2026, they'll try to get him into the team a little bit more. They can improve him and then maybe have a look at it then.
What if it's pick 7 to North for Dersma and pick 23 or whatever your first pick is? Hypothetical. I'm not saying that would get offered. Would you move from 23 to 7?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know if Essendon would do that, but it depends how serious they are about getting the Dersma brothers.
I really want North to draft Mitch Marsh.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
From South Australia. So I would do that deal.
Yeah,
great cover drive.
Yeah.
Yes.
A hypothetical question here. Let's say Zane Dersma gets to Essendon and you've got Xavier and Zane, West Coast at pick 1. Do you take Willem?
Yeah.
I reckon it affects the decision making though.
Nah, you have to though, don't you? You can't.
Well, I would probably just sooner trade the pick.
Well, yeah. That would be the most. The best way.
You don't just let him pass. Yeah, that's fair.
I feel like that's difficult. It's almost like Essendon have cornered you.
Yeah, like checkmate. God damn. Yeah, it's an interesting situation that it's possible it ends up that way. North are interested in a player that goes affectionately by Bubble, Charlie Spargo. There is some interest there from North Melbourne.
Spargo, Bubble.
Yeah, that was the joke. And he actually did a bad shoulder today in the VFL. I noticed that, which is untimely. But he's an unrestricted free agent, so you don't have to worry about giving up Caleb Daniel on a first-round pick for him.
Yeah.
Good player, Charlie Spargo.
Good
inside 50 connector.
I was just about to say, what the hell would we be thinking getting Charlie Spargo? I mean...
You need someone to kick the ball inside 50?
I mean...
Father played for North.
Did he?
Yeah, Phil Spargo?
Phil Spargo.
He's West Australian. I think he played for East Perth.
Spargo to me is very VFL attributes.
Yeah.
Nah, I disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think? I'm talking to a D's fan.
Yeah, I've watched enough D's. During their good times, he was their best kick inside 50.
He was good. He was good in 2021.
Yeah. And 20 when they were contending.
Yeah.
It was a good player.
Paul Spargo. Sorry, we're corrected by Stephen.
He's a hard worker.
He's not a VFL player.
he didn't get in the team.
Where did he
year.
get injured today, mate?
No, but he wasn't getting picked this year.
Was it due to not being good enough to be in the
Yeah,
D side?
he was
really?
yeah.
Man, well, that's a blank spot in my mind. I only remember good things about Charlie Spargo being a good.
No, I mean, like he was a good role player, but he's not he's not going to do anything for us other than maybe be a culture guy. If he's, I imagine it's North trying to it's like going this crusade of bringing in players that have been in successful teams.
I think he'd be a good pickup for North.
I don't even reckon he'd get in the team.
Who are your like half forwards?
Oh, so many. You got Curtis. You've got I was going to say Eddie Ford, but you just listed him. I mean, Sheasel, would you consider him a half forward? Going into next year.
To a point.
Zohar.
Yeah, Zohar.
Does Power play forward as well? Like a rotation?
More of a mid, but
yeah,
he does as a rotation. And the other one is Robert Hansen Jr.
Oh, yeah.
I just yawned the whole way through that, but Spargo bubble.
Spargo bubble.
I get what you're saying. It's not an area of need. And Zane Duursma could be also part of that mix.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Spargo would be more of that kind of like off the ball worker a little bit more. I just don't think like that position, that half forward position, it's demanding more speed. And I don't think he's necessarily that. He's a hard worker, like hard runner, but not a speed guy.
Stephen says Caleb Daniel needs someone to see eye level with. It's a great point.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll hit a kick.
We'll rattle off a couple of more stories we've heard, and then I want to go through some quick fire delisted free agents who have been confirmed at this point that I want to ask if you think they should get another opportunity. We'll start with Melbourne, who have a few stories. They're looking at Max Heath, who's just been cut by St Kilda, which is ironically I think he's been cut. No, it might be Harry Boyd. Forgive me.
Yeah,
they're looking at him anyway.
I didn't think Max Heath had been cut.
Yeah, it might be Harry Boyd. I'm confusing myself with. But Wade Dirksen also likely to get to the Ds. But Judd McVie is the biggest story here, and he looks likely to stay at Melbourne, according to Gettable.
Would love him to come back.
Yeah,
to WA.
I am absolutely keen on Judd McVie. He'd probably be my number one priority if we could make it work.
Who he reminds me a lot of is Brady Hoff. I reckon they're two very similar players.
Yeah.
Would love him on the half-back line for Freo.
I think he wants more midfield time.
I think McVie actually has a little bit more upside than Hoff, like with the ball.
Yeah.
Bigger body?
Hoff's pretty big. Well, he's tall.
Yeah, no, I reckon they're similar. They'd both be about 190 centimetres tall.
I think I looked it up. I think McVie's a bit shorter.
Yeah.
Okay, like 188 or something?
So let's find out.
So about your height?
Yeah.
Yeah, McVie, he got a little bit of opportunity to play in the guts later on in the season, and he
185. So there's a pretty big height difference there.
Yeah, decent actually. I think he's a little bit more like highly skilled with ball in hand, like a little bit better movement than a Hoff, but Hoff.
Well, I don't know about movement, but I would agree on the foot skills.
Yeah, okay.
I think Hoff is quite the athlete.
He's a good runner.
He's quick and agile as well. Yeah. He plays a bit more straight line when he's in the back line. Don't know if he's a midfielder. Like
with McVie, he does things that remind me a little bit of Sheasel, where it's when I say movement, it's probably more like an IQ thing, where he can kind of like step in and out of traffic. That maybe I don't see necessarily in a Brady Hoff as much.
Yeah.
Maybe that's IQ rather than athleticism. I think Hoff is very quick and nimble. His foot skills I would describe as tidy without being good. Well, no, they're good without being great. Like he's just not super damaging with the ball in hand.
Well, that's so when McVie stepped into the midfield later in the season, that was something I noticed about him.
Sure.
Just missing some targets, but I feel it wasn't a technical thing. Where he was missing the targets. It was more of a mental thing where he's just making mistakes. There's more pressure on the ball further up the ground because he's used to being in the defensive half, and he's probably used to getting, in that role, probably somewhere between 10 and 15 touches a game. And then it goes, obviously you go into the midfield, you have the ball a bit more and you have it in more pressure situations.
Yes, yeah. We'll go through some quick delistings. I found some guys that I just want to know, do you think they get another opportunity?
Yes or no?
Dylan Shield.
Yes.
No.
I kind of want to know a little bit of justification.
I think he's got another 2 years to give.
You say this about everyone.
So, would you rather Mitch Duncan or Dylan Shield for West Coast?
Duncan's officially retired now. I would take Duncan for the coaching possibility.
Right.
Dylan Shield's 32.
That was a good rebuttal on Duncan.
Yeah.
He's retired.
Well played.
Yeah. As for footballing ability, probably, I don't know, Shield might have been a better player.
There's just been a couple of times that I've seen him play like good games in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I think
I don't
maybe
think
he's got a little bit of juice to squeeze.
He's not high hope factor, and he's not a big enough contested player to like protect midfielders at West Coast.
He's also really fumbly when pressure's on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't actually see who would take him now I've said that.
It's the club part that's difficult to find for Shield, I think. If he was 29, it'd be different.
Yeah, okay.
Orazio Fantasia.
No.
I would have said no too, but Gold Coast do need a small forward. Is there any chance they turn him into a good player?
No.
Probably not. He has.
I'm not saying there's no way they'll take him, but there's no way they'll turn him into a good player.
Eddie Ford.
Yeah,
Never heard of him.
North Melbourne.
Like another one. We had too many of that type of player. Like we had Jaden Stevenson a while back, like that 190 centimetre, third tall kind of forward player. I think potentially, I think he's a victim of that role changing a little bit. Like you don't need as many of those like tall forward, medium types like Bailey Fritsch and that sort of player. I feel like he's that, and this is not. Some teams aren't even running a player like that at all.
Yeah.
So that's going to be tricky for him. Maybe someone like he's a decent player.
Yeah, I think there's something there, and he's young as well.
Yeah, and he's kind of heart and soul, like good culture guy.
Okay.
Nice to have around the club. Things that I hear. So
yeah, Callan Dawson. I think you said the other day that you would keep him.
I'd keep. Yeah.
So I presume that means...
I was a little bit surprised by that.
Yeah.
No, I think he could definitely play. Like at least somebody would pick him up as a depth player.
Yeah. It could be my club. Who knows?
Camden McIntosh is retired, hasn't he?
I don't think so.
I thought he retired.
He made that speech, but I don't think he retired. I'm pretty sure it was explicitly reported he wasn't.
I thought he had
retired.
good games at Richmond this year, like particularly early on.
Yeah. I think some of their fans were kind of a little bit surprised, but at some point, players have to make way.
I feel he started the season quite well, and as the season went on, it waned.
He became Camden McIntosh.
And yeah.
Would you take him at West Coast?
That's the only club I think it works.
Yeah.
Again, we're probably also at the point now where it would take a spot away from other players, but I mean, we cut. Oh, Jaden Hunt retired / was cut. I think there's a spot there, but only if we had more list spots.
I reckon that makes sense.
Yeah. Zane Cordy, 29.
No.
No?
Nah.
Not even for a team who needs key defenders.
They lost Josh Battle, and he still couldn't really have an impact for St Kilda.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know who's he getting. What side's he getting into? It'd have to be a really specific situation, I would have thought.
Yeah, that's true. And I was going to say Jack Petruccelli, who is linked to Carlton.
Like you said, I think he does have AFL attributes.
Yeah.
Put him in a good side, and
he's more athlete than he is footballer. But yeah, you make a good point on the body, but it is a free swing. I think Petruccelli is more draftable than.
I think he's one of the more signable on that list there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, before we finish up, should we do like a little draft segment? We have kind of neglected the draft on this channel since we did our mock draft some time ago.
Yep.
So I have some questions for you, and I will open it up to the chat as we go along. Dylan is the resident draft expert here at True Footy. And I guess to open it up, Dill, what are your thoughts generally around the strength of this draft, comparing top-end quality and depth? How does it compare to, say, last year?
It's a good question. It's probably been the most discussed thing about this draft overall. I think it's a little bit underrated at this point with what we're seeing coming through. Like post-champs, there's a few guys coming into that top sort of 20 frame. You've got like Sam Swadling in WA playing some pretty good footy. Riley Onley had a really good champs at the back end as well. So you're starting to get those players kind of push up into the top end. It's not as good. People have talked about the depth, and it's definitely not as good outside, say, the top 25 or 30. But then you go into that top end. I think probably where it doesn't have the strength in depth is actually across that top 20, if that makes sense. So there are some good players. I don't think they're as good as the top end of last year. And then it slowly probably gets a little bit weaker compared to that one. I know that's a lot of that was vague, but yeah, you look at the top end like Sam Lawler, Harvey Langford, these types of players, Finn O'Sullivan. I don't think there's really. I think you'd probably still take all of those guys in, say, the top 5 over Dersma or Cooper Duff-Tytler, if that's you guy.
I was going to ask that exact question. Where would, say, a Willem Dersma go in last year's draft? So after Harvey, was Langford 5?
Yeah, so it went Lawler, O'Sullivan, Smith, Draper, Langford.
Yeah.
Hang on, Ashcroft 5.
Oh, it was. Yep.
Ashcroft 5, and then Langford 6.
Yep.
And Smiley 7.
Yep.
So I think the first pick in this draft would come in after Harvey Langford.
Okay. Yeah, right. So you think Harvey Langford at the time was a superior prospect to Willem Dersma? I'm kind of grilling you. It's a
good question.
Yeah.
I think Willem Dersma's got more upside. There's things about his game that are potentially better.
Quite different prospects.
Prospects. I think Langford more bankable, Dersma more upside, and it would be close between those two. I also think there's players that went higher, like Sid Draper to Adelaide. I don't think he was necessarily you'd probably look at a Dersma over somebody like that as well.
I like Draper.
I liked him as well.
Yeah.
Good trades, and even Jagger. But I think Finn O'Sullivan, I think Sam Lawler, I probably think Harvey Langford as well. Like pretty clear.
Sure. Yeah.
Pretty clear. So he falls in somewhere there.
On that note, what is Willem Dersma's best position at AFL level?
I think when he comes into the AFL, he will play as either a halfback, like a tall sort of marauding defender, or a winger. I think his position after that, 2 to 3 years, I think you're looking at a midfield player.
Okay. Yeah.
Like a genuine on-ball player with like different reasons for that. I think maybe 5-6 years ago, he wasn't big-bodied enough. He wasn't strong enough, like that sort of player. But I think
it's still a bit of a question mark, isn't it? His contested game, would you say? Do you agree with that? That's just something I've read.
His contested game,
and kind of seen as well.
He doesn't have an enormous amount of physicality.
Yeah.
But not many of these sort of skinnier outside players do. You know what I mean? Like at this point, he can go in and win the ball though.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
Yeah.
Whether you say he doesn't necessarily use his strength and his body to be able to win those possessions. Like he's got long limbs, so he wins a lot of ball from his reach and stuff like that in its stoppage. But he knows how to get the ball. He knows how to find it. He knows how to get it on the inside and the outside. Absolutely.
Gross.
Will the lack of actual physical contact hurt him at AFL level? I don't think so. I think you'd have to, from the performances he's put out this year, you'd have to expect that he's going to make it.
Yeah. Okay. If Carlton end up with pick 2 this year after taking Jagger, so this is the idea that I just conjured out of my own proverbial
scenario.
Yes. The connection being like if they can get it through a deal for Charlie Curnow, get the pick off West Coast, big 7-way trade, la-di-da-di-da. But hypothetically, if Carlton get back into the top end of this draft, let's say Dersma's gone, who do they take?
So how would they get? Where would they get to? What would their pick be?
Let's say pick 2.
I think if they got pick 2, they would either be taking Dersma or Duff Tytler.
Okay, I was going to say that Dersma's gone pick 1, so you think Duff Tytler?
Yes.
I suppose it makes sense with De Koning just gone. I thought it was a more intriguing question than that.
It's kind of the same player in some ways. So when you look at what they've got in the ruck with Pitnet, and then you're saying they're looking at like a Liam Reedy, there's not a star ruckman there. Whether you'd want to rebuild, I think the thing is they don't, given the solidness of their midfield right now, and with drafting Jagger Smith, and with there's still an element where they still could get Cody Walker next year, who's going to be a gun midfielder. I don't think there'd be an urgent need that like we have to take a mid. So I don't really see why they would reach.
Okay.
And to me, there's a clear, like in this draft, there is a clear top 4 players. Somewhere you could say there's a clear, in the open pool, there's a clear top 2. And that is Dersma.
Yes, and
Duff
CDT.
Tytler. That's been pretty consistent for most people throughout the year. And then there's sort of a bracket and it gets a little bit more hazy.
So again, just to pull that thread a little bit further, let's say they have pick 3.
Okay.
And then you're opening up guys. You said that there's a top 4 consensus of the other players being Ezekiel and Dylan Patterson. So for the next open pool pick, names that come to mind, Josh Lindsay, Sam Grill, Dyson Sharp, Sam Cumming. These are some of the guys that I like, not necessarily the consensus ones to go next. But who do you think goes next? Who
do I think they should take, or who do I think they would take?
Try both on for size.
I reckon they'd take Josh Lindsay.
Yeah, I was thinking Lindsay for him.
They're a fairly conservative drafting team.
Yeah.
So I feel Josh Lindsay is like the most bankable, very very much based on what his performances have been. He's not necessarily like an athletic type or anything like that. The ball use is good. So you sort of know what you're going to get. And again, their age profile, even though they're losing some of these players, I think if someone like a Josh Lindsay could come in and have like a pretty immediate impact off halfback and help them in an area of need. I still think, and said it last year with their drafting, like they really need to get some like explosive kind of speed into their team. So the two for me that I would say if they had a pick around that range, it'd have to be Sam Grill or Jevon Philippou.
Oh, I forgot about Philippou.
Yeah, like that's genuine athleticism that Carlton don't have.
I like it. We'll get to some of the chat questions. Do you lads know anything about Indy Cotton? Just signed with Adelaide, top 20 prospect in this year apparently. Would love if he could surpass Hugh Greenwood's output. I have not heard of Indy Cotton.
I've heard of him, but I've never seen him play.
Okay.
So I can't actually talk about it too much.
Fair.
I think he's a basketballer.
Yeah, that makes sense. Any relation to Bryce?
I don't know what that means.
Perth Wildcat, American import player.
Okay.
Yeah. Kobe Williams, staying on the basketball names. Any chance to get to Hawthorn under father-son, says Stephen Camilleri. Kobe Williams?
Kobe Williams.
Yeah. These seem like niche ones.
I'm not confusing. Kobe Williams isn't the WA guy for you guys, right?
Toby Wan?
No,
Tyler Williams.
Tyler Williams. Sorry, it's a different name. No, I don't know.
Not sure. Yeah.
Haven't seen Kobe Williams.
Who do you reckon West Coast will take with your draft hand, Jesse?
I am leaning, let's say it's pick 1 and 2. I'm leaning, I think now maybe Dersma. I think he's, since we last did our mock and I famously picked a couple of guys that I think West Coast would take. I think Dersma's now elevated his performance to be clearly one of those two choices. CDT is an option for pick 2, but I think it's also possible they go Dyson Sharp, who's the best available midfielder. All of them are a bit like pros and consy for me. There's none that stand out, but Dersma seems to be the highest rated talent.
I think the big thing with Dyson Sharp taking somebody like that is like the culture element.
Yeah.
Because he sort of, almost like single-handedly dragged that South Australian team to winning the national champs. He was just kind of like jump on the back, very like Patrick Cripps-esque.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like that would be a big, particularly in the situation that West Coast are in. I think. Whereas if you went Dersma and Duff Tytler, I think they are the top two talents.
Both speculative as well.
Yeah, there is some level of speculation. Like I think they'll both be good players, but coming into a team like West Coast who don't have those experienced players to play around, there'll be that level of expectation, and I don't think they're going to thrive like a Harley Reid in their first season.
Yeah, that's right. Is CDT, Cooper Duff Tytler, for those playing at home, is he a genuine ruck at AFL level, or do you see him being more of an athletic forward ruck, I suppose, as opposed to a number one ruck? We've seen sort of Ethan Reid go down the path of playing more forward at AFL level.
Yes, I think he's more of a forward ruck as the game sits right now, because you've got those currently as it stands higher stoppage. We talked about the rules last week, which I'll touch on here in a second, but you've sort of got those bigger bodied rucks like Tristan Sherry and guys like that, and Lloyd Meek, Sean Darcy. I don't know, he'll struggle particularly early to compete with rucks like that. But, they're looking at doing the last touch rule, which is going to reduce stoppages, and it's probably going to implore teams to kind of go down that route of even, I don't know, I reckon some teams will even potentially experiment with like tall mids, rucking a bit more, stuff like that, get a bit creative with it. So I think he kind of suits that game. So I think teams are going to be looking at those rule changes and going like, should we be going after a Cooper Duff Tytler? Because he can ruck in that. He can be basically an extra midfielder like a Luke Jackson for Freo. But I think as it stands right now, and we've seen he played VFL 2-3 weeks ago, kicked I think 3 or 4 goals playing there, like looked really comfortable as a forward. So he's played at different stages as a forward and looks really good as well. But I think you got to look at him as a prospect overall that can play a bit of ruck, can play forward. He's a very athletic, physical player, very competitive, and he kicks goals, hits the scoreboard. I wouldn't get too caught up in the position is probably what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, fair enough. That was kind of just my own personal curiosity, to be honest. I've seen different views on that. Sam Cumming, and boy is he. He is a player that I like in this year's draft for his attributes, and then sadly, since I picked him at pick 2 in our mock draft, I think it was a shoulder, ruled him out for the season. Now post-injury, where do you see his draft range at this early stage?
Oh, I think it's about the same.
Yeah.
I don't see it really hurting him too much. It's not like a Taj Houghton round 3 knee.
Yeah.
So like if you're a recruiter, you've sort of seen enough.
Yeah.
Played senior football, played champs, played under 18 football. So there's like a pretty widespread.
Could possibly still make the draft combine too, like possibly.
Yeah.
It depends how bad that recovery is. So.
I've got no idea how bad the shoulder injury is, which is interesting. But like you look back, players that missed the combine, and like Lawler missed like most of the season of Coates Talent League, the back half, missed all the finals, and he went pick 1.
Yeah.
So I don't.
That's true. I
don't think it's going to affect his range. I think his issue will be, I think, the long distance running side to his game. Like, does it? He's very much that kind of bash and crash. He's athletic, but he doesn't necessarily have like the endurance to get heaps and heaps of the ball.
Yeah.
Like a Philippou or these sorts of players that are a bit more endurance based. So powerful, explosive, that kind of forward mid type, I think is what he is. There's also a little bit of like George Wardlaw, Matt Rowell about him to me as well with his contest stuff, like at stoppage. So like there's a bit there as well.
Kind of like the Hewitt comparison for him.
Elijah?
Elijah Hewitt.
Yeah.
Some similarities there.
Not bad, actually. Not bad. I think Hewitt's probably a better kick.
Yeah.
Maybe slightly more skilled, but
yeah.
No, it's not. It's pretty good, actually.
Cool. Aiden Schubert.
Shuey.
Yes. How does he compare to last year's key position forwards? Aiden Schubert, South Australian, probably the highest rated key forward in the draft if you ignore Mitch Marsh as that key forward type. How does he compare to your Jonty Falls, your Harry Armstrongs and Thomas Sims and anyone else Richmond took?
Pretty different. I think of the one that comes to mind, I'm thinking he's a bit like Thomas Sims.
Yeah.
Positionally.
Okay.
But Thomas Sims also had a bit of a like thicker, stronger body where Schubert looks very like a little bit leaner. Kind of just glides around. I don't know. He's a weird player. He's like a key position player that goes and takes big grabs in the forward line, but then kind of floats around, takes a sort of disproportionately large amount of uncontested marks around the ground as well. Like across the South Australia, he was getting, 15, 20 touches a game, which is a little bit unusual for a forward. Most guys are in that sort of 8 to 12 range a lot of the time and just hitting the scoreboard. So he's in a good South Australia team as kind of the best forward down there. So he's a tricky one. I would say Thomas Sims as a like type though. I reckon he'll be forward ruck. He's nearly 200 centimetres.
Yeah. We got a question from Ashwin Beatson. Go to school with Lockie Doverston. Kick 3 for Vic Metro. I like Lockie Doverston. I actually wouldn't mind him for West Coast. Yep. What are your thoughts on him? Could he be a gun is the question.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think he'll be the first small forward taken in the draft. A lot of comparisons to Nick Watson because they both played for Eastern Rangers, Vic Metro. They got the mullet sort of just vibes, you know what I mean? Like a little clone. I don't think he's as good as Watson. I don't think he's got quite as many tricks.
Mm-hmm. Kind of hard-working forward, though.
Yeah, very hard-working. Very productive, like hitting the scoreboard. His goals per game average is better than Watson's from an Eastern Rangers point of view. He's not as box office, though, as Nick Watson. And Watson really thrived at Metro level. Kicked big bags there and like APS finals and stuff like that as well. So he's special. Like he's he'd be the leading small forward in this crop. Taylor Byrne, probably the other one that's a sneaky chance.
Yeah. Doc Durag has asked this question a couple of times, so I'll just quickly field it. Would West Coast take any of the Port delistings such as Jed McEntee, Hugh Jackson, Dylan Williams and Jeremy Finlayson? Look, I think you can make an argument that any one of them could probably get close to a game, but I don't know how much of a value add those guys would be. McEntee was probably one I was a little surprised got delisted, to be honest, because I just thought he was more of a factor in their team. But
pretty handy.
Yeah. Could Xavier Taylor come into an AFL side and make an instant impact? I've seen his name shoot up the rankings a little bit into more top 10 conversations.
He's really good.
Yeah.
He's really bloody good. Like
AFL comparison?
James Sicily?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right.
James Sicily, but he's quicker. So he can actually run the ball out of defence. I wouldn't say like I think about Sicily and think about leg speed. He's a bit more IQ. So Xavier Taylor, what's a better one? A bit Josh Wedley, like that sort of thing. Okay. Not perfect.
Yeah, gotcha.
But a hybrid between being someone that can intercept the ball and be a key defender, and then run the ball out of defence as well. Yeah, okay. Pretty good foot skills. Had a good champs, but smashing it for the Eastern Rangers at the moment. And probably like Harry Dean would be the father-son to Carlton, would be like the runaway sort of intercept defender.
Yeah.
He's the next one, but he's a bit different. Like
he's a bit undersized as well.
A bit undersized, and that's where that kind of hybridness comes into it. Like, is he going to run the ball out, or is he going to be sort of a genuine lockdown? Yeah,
that's true. Team-based one. If Essendon end up with 3 top 10 picks, let's say 5, 6, 7, without getting too stuck into it, what mix would you go for the Essendon Footy Club? Assuming some of those top talents we've talked about are gone.
3 top 10 picks.
Yeah. So let's say Dersma, CDT, Lindsay, Sharp are gone. Those 4.
CDT?
Yeah. Dersma, Lindsay, and Sharp, assuming like West Coast takes Sharp.
They're gone.
Yeah. So then you've got any open pool player to pick from there.
I would go Farrow.
The first pick? Or just one of them?
Just one of them.
Okay, I was going to say.
Didn't really matter.
Yeah.
I would go Philippou.
Yeah, I thought you might. Greaves?
I was actually I'm torn on that because I was going to say Grill.
Yeah, okay.
But Greaves would have to be
just for the style of big-bodied midfielder that they could possibly use?
Yeah. But Farrow kind of is that too.
Sure, yeah.
So that's an interesting one. I feel like if they got Grill could sort of start for them as a running defender, which they somewhat a need, bit of pace on the outside. You could play Farrow as like that bigger bodied midfielder, and then Philippou's sort of a project could maybe start forward. I guess the question is like, would Essendon right now want to draft any key position players? Because if they wanted to draft a key, I'd be heavily sniffing around like a Mitch Marsh.
Yeah, true.
With one of those picks as well.
That's a good shout.
Greaves would have to be strongly considered. I'd probably go the other way though.
Yeah, I like it. What position do you think Cody Curtin plays at AFL level? He's been more a key back, would you say? I've actually kind of lost track. He played forward and back.
Yeah, generally speaking, at waffle level, like at under 18 waffle level, he plays forward.
Forward, does he? Yeah. Okay.
But for when the competitiveness sort of goes up a bit, like when he played for the AFL Academy, he played back.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking.
Played a bit, probably more forward even in the champs, to be honest, as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Kick some goals.
Yeah, not as talented as Daniel.
No, definitely not. Good player. He's one that's hard to kind of find it like an AFL comparison as well. Like he's very big.
Yeah.
Very big. And like probably the one that comes to mind is probably Jed Walter.
Okay.
But I think he's a bit less mobile than Jed Walter as well.
Wow.
So it's a big body with not the greatest turning circle.
I see. Yeah.
Which worries me a little bit, but like obviously he's clearly like very strong, very physical, can take those big marks.
Mm-hmm. Staying with WA talent before we finish up, just a quick one around. We know Jacob Farrow is the number 1 rated West Australian talent, but who do you think is the next best? There's like Sam Swadling who's probably shot up the rankings.
Yeah.
Rodriguez who's gone the other way. Toby Wine's gone the other way. Cody Curtin's gone the other way. Tyler Williams, Charlie Banfield, and probably more that I can't think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, I would probably say it's Toby Wine. Mm-hmm. Overall, Freo
Toby Wine Kenobi.
Yeah, is he just like locked into Freo, or if he gets taken too high?
Yeah.
Right.
No. That's gone now. Although it might be coming back
next year. Yeah.
It's all confusing.
So he's all but confirmed to play for Freo, old Toby.
Yeah. You guys will have any opportunity to match him. I think he's the next best. Like,
is he like a winger, half back?
Nah, he's a mid.
Mid?
Yeah, he's a mid.
Toby Wine Kenobi is the full name.
Yeah, that's sick.
Big, strong, like left footer.
Yeah.
The probably the issue overall with those that full crop of WA guys is like the kicking for me. Farrow stands out. Farrow's got really good foot skills. Like I feel Juan, Swadling, Rodriguez is a better kick. But those other two, like Swadling and Juan, it's like that's the thing. Their contested game. Rodriguez as well, the contested game, really strong, but doesn't have the polish on the outside, which I think will like push. That's why you've seen like Rodriguez and Juan probably slip back a bit, but I think Juan's probably could get overtaken by Swadling though. I feel like could get overtaken by Swaddling. About around the 30 range, I would say.
Yeah, I suppose if you want to know more, just ask Toby One himself because it takes one to know one. We've got one final question, I reckon, on this stream. We've got G asking, who is your AFL player comparison for Hibbins-Hargreaves?
Oh, good one. I was having this conversation with someone the other day, actually. I would say it's not the same. So, like, don't take this too literally, but it's probably Harry Sheezel.
Okay.
Sort of that tall mid-forward kind of midfielder, like 186 centimetres. So they're a similar size. I think Sheezel was in his draft year, probably like a bit stronger, maybe, than Noah Hibbins-Hargreaves. And he's a bit like leaner and skinnier, but kind of move the same. They don't have like a heap of speed, both of them, but have that IQ to be able to like get in and out. Good overhead, which they both have. And they're both just really good around goal, kind of clutch players. So the question, I think with Noah Hibbins-Hargreaves and why you don't see him higher on draft boards is more around like the position at AFL, like what's the role that he's going to do? Because he's not a big contested inside mid. So he's a little bit outside. He's like a link player that doesn't have he's not a Finn Callahan or an Ed Richards where he can go in and win 9 clearances a game.
Yeah.
But he's got all that polish. So he's like handy to have, but he's not a fundamental.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Seems to have a lot of upside, as much upside as many of the prospects in this draft, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. He'll be a tricky one. I feel he could potentially slide based on, he could go either way. He could come up the board if someone wants to take a risk on him, or he could slide because he feels too speculative. Too much of a cherry on top.
Yeah. I like it. Thank you so much for that, Dylan. Shall we wrap up the show there?
Let's do it.
It's been a longer one than we expected.
Yeah, I love the draft.
Yeah,
brilliant.
That was good.
What time is it now? 10:17. We've still got 101 on the chat.
Yeah,
so
great numbers.
Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Chuck a like on it before you go if you enjoyed the content.
A like,
thank you.
Subscribe to True Footy channel. Thanks for doing footy with me, boys.
Thank you.
Thank you for being you. Docker's going to win the flag. It's going to be glorious.
Clip that.
Can you
don't picture it.
Can you imagine the grand final with Drewsy doing the live stream? Well,
I wouldn't be.
You wouldn't be here.
No,
yeah, thank God.
Crying.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. We'll just keep that safe. All right, let's wrap this up.
Let's do it.
Shout out to Vicar doing the best job as
once
always.
again, best on ground.
Smashing it out. If you've got any questions, just put them in the comments under the stream and we'll probably have some clips out this week as well. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Too many World War II